AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007, and since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions.
And welcome everybody to the show, and thanks Tony for jumping in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's see. So, people that don't know, we answer questions that come into the website, or since we're going live every week, people that join in live. So, Aldo's first one out there talking about having some chili and cottage cheese. I must have done that at some point, but it sounds interesting. I think I could see that. You ever done that?
I mean, not with cottage cheese, with sour cream. Yeah, cottage cheese, no.
Well, I wasn't thinking on it. I guess I was thinking like in a separate bowl, but say meal or whatever. But yeah, interesting. Kind of depends on the chili, I guess. And I don't know. Is all cottage cheese the same? I think all cottage cheese is basically the same.
Mm-hmm. Either big curds or small curds. I don't know if there's a difference.
Chris is out there joining us as well. Thanks. If you're out
Chris?
there, say something. If you're out there, let us know what state you're in so people can. This is the conversation. We're not here to we know everything, so that's why we're here to tell you all whatever you need to know. But it's also a community, so feel free to let when you say hey to the group, let us know what state you're in, and just know how many people, what kind of reach we got this week. And the same with the X. Wait a minute, what happened? Are we not on the X? Oh, we're on the X. We just saw anybody watching on X yet. That's weird. We got Twitch and YouTube people, but nobody on X right now. I need to figure out how to set this up so if you want, you can send it to your X and YouTubes if you want. I don't know if that's something I set up in StreamYard. I think we used to do that, though. I know other people do it. So I think it's a StreamYard feature if you want to try playing with that.
It's just a link. What I usually do when I see you put it on YouTube is I copy the link and then just go to X and post it up.
Yeah, we usually get, I would say, probably more usually people watching on X than even on YouTube. Well, usually, I shouldn't say it like that. There's almost always more people watching on X. Sometimes it's a lot more, I guess I should say. Because it depends on the weekend and what's going on. Is this a sports weekend?
That's the wrong guy to ask, man.
Yeah, exactly. I only know about sports that they get in the way of other things, but it's not so bad now because it's not like I watch TV or anything that gets affected by it.
Well, now I heard the other day, this tells you how out of it I am. There's something called Thursday Night Football. And I'm like, son of a gun. That's all I need now for the varsity shoots.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Yeah. I didn't know.
So,
what was it, Monday Night Football before?
Yeah, it was Monday Night Football. I was like, all right, cool. I mean, my event's on Thursdays. Oh, now there's Thursday nights. You mother effers. Pick a day.
Let's see. Can you test the Neo Rambler power bank? It's a $350 power bank. If I get my hands on one, I certainly will. I don't have one. Huh?
Actually, I was looking. Is it Nebo?
Yeah. An EBM.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was actually looking at picking one up. My car's been dead for almost over a month. My car died on me pretty much before I went.
What happened?
I had to have it towed and all that kind of crap. Well, it's dead now. Had it as a mechanic title. They're gonna junk it. And a friend of mine gave me his mom's car. His mom got a new car. It was her roll around, do stuff in. So now I have a little tiny car, and that's one of the things we did yesterday. And it was a lot. We did over 200 something miles in New Jersey yesterday between him picking me up, us going to a friend of mine's wake or viewing, and then going from the viewing to go to my car to clean it out, going from my car to clean it out to his mom's, going from his mom's to DMV, back to his mom's. It was crazy, dude. We had a very adventureful day. And that's what that's all about. So I have a new car that I got to name it. It's like a crazy green color. Uh, and her granddaughter called it the turtle. So I'm thinking about renaming it to the tactical turtle. You know, all of my cars have to have a name, at least,
Is this
even
like a
if I don't say
Volvo
it out loud.
hatchback or something?
No, it's a freaking, oh yeah, Volvos are over with. My Volvo mechanic retired, so I won't be getting any more of those. It's a Hyundai Accent 2010, two door.
Oh, I hear good stuff about Hyundais, though. Whenever I was looking around to try to get a car to drive around town, which I still kind of thinking about doing, because I drive the van and it's like just a lot to drive around town from just
Yep.
errands or whatever. But
Oh,
anyways, everybody said
mhm.
to get Hyundais because they just run forever and the resale value is decent because they run forever and they don't cost a lot of maintenance and they just run.
So the reason I brought it up is because it has a problem with a slow voltage leak, and they had the Nebo 90, no 100. I think he has Nebo, whatever you call it, to
Yeah, the
jump the
Nebo
vehicle.
100. I'm just looking at the internet here, but it looks like that'd be about the size of a book, like the paperback book.
Yeah. So that's what actually he gave me. Yep. Is it the Rambler? Is it 100? Yep, 100. So that's what I have in the car. I have to buy one myself. I got his as backup because I have to jump the battery. The battery slowly drains. We're trying to figure out what's the problem.
Oh, okay.
So I drove it from his house to his mom's place to mine, and it held on to a little of the juice, but the car wouldn't start back up when I got it to the yard. I mean, it's not drawing enough off the battery. So what you call it starts next week. Not next week, but a week after. What do you call that? Prime week,
Oh, okay.
Amazon Prime. So I'm going to see if it discounts even more. I think it's like $99 right now on Amazon.
I got a cheat sheet so I can help you out off air.
Oh, all right, cool.
They let us know. So am I allowed to say that? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But
I don't know. I didn't hear anything, but yeah, go ahead.
those I thought you were just talking about a battery backup for like cell phones and cameras and stuff. And I was going to say those I got plenty of. Like I got tons of those, and I don't even know what to do with them. So I could send you a couple of those if you needed them. But if you're talking
No,
about the
that's
kind
always
that jump the car, I think I
yeah.
might have one or two of those. I just don't know where those are. But I won't have it before you need it. But yeah, that's interesting. I don't know anything about. I might actually own one now that I'm looking at the Nebos, like their look or whatever. I might own, like I say, one for charging a cell phone or something. So I feel like that name does sound familiar, but I think it also sounds familiar because it's pretty decent, or at least what's the word? Like they make a lot of stuff. So I'm assuming if they make a lot of stuff and they're still in business, that it's decent. He's saying the Nebo 300 is about the size of a laptop. Yeah, that's so. It's like $300. That the Jackery is the one I'm seeing here. But if that's the same company, yeah, we'll see. I know somebody who has them, I think, so we might be able to get some info from that person.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah. Iowa, Ohio out there. I'm from New Jersey, so yeah, I'm from the
Yep,
state of
I'm in
hate, just
Arizona.
content.
We got a couple of states, or a good range of states, and then other people will jump in. And I think will we see the X comments over here? Now we're getting the X
I
pictures.
haven't seen any X comments on X.
Yeah, I think they do show up over here. We see them. Like I don't think they show up for YouTube, but
Oh,
actually, I thought there was a way that I could. I don't want to click that button. There's a way I can click a button and then the chats will show up on the screen. Next time we're like Tony's talking, basically, I'll go in and start clicking on shit. See if I can figure out how to make the chat show up on the screen. Because I'll bet you that way we can get the X comments to show up for everybody on YouTube, and vice versa. I can get the YouTube ones to show up on the screen like we're doing.
yeah, I had a what you call it? I
But I
was
can,
going to
or I
go.
guess I can highlight any of them. But you have to type on X for it to see it.
Oh, really? I didn't know how that worked. I just figured it was just not connected. Yeah, I was supposed to go to a competition today I signed up for. But since I didn't have a car, I didn't think I'd get it done yesterday. I got lucky. I didn't have a appointment, and usually in New Jersey, just to make life difficult, they make you have an appointment for everything, and you have to have 5 points ID or whatever to register a vehicle. And I went down, and I had my everything except I didn't have enough IDs. So I pulled out my state ID because I work for the state, and I put it around my neck so I wouldn't lose it because I had a lot of papers to keep up with. You got your license, you got the registration, you got your insurance card. I had the old plates to turn in, all of that. And I'm like, all right, I'll just hang my ID around my neck when I walk in the door. I walk in and I work for corrections. Well, you got to walk past security. Security asks you, what are you doing there? I was like, hey, how you doing? I'm here to register. He said, hey, you work for, I didn't even finish speaking. He was like, you work for corrections? I was like, yeah. He was like, where? I told him where. All of a sudden, it was old home week. He was like, don't worry about the appointment. Come up. I'll put you in. And just brought me to the front of the line and told, hey, this is my boy. Take care of him. Cool. I got a number. I sat down and we just BS'd about work and, all that stuff. And I got my vehicle registered, already had it insured and everything. My wife took care of that from her side. But we were able to knock it out. Me and my boy walked out like, that was crazy. And he was like, he just shrugged. He was like, that was funny. He said, because I watched him turn 4 people away that didn't have, what do you call it, appointments. And I went, as I was like, as a black dude that goes to prison every day, there's very few perks in that whole statement. So if my only perk is I got to go to DMV without having to have a appointment, cool. That's a once what every couple of years thing. Not even like I have no reason to go to DMV, but hey, cool. I got taken care of. I got the car registered. So I got this tiny green car. I think I'm calling it Tactical Turtle. My wife said call it Shrek. I don't know. But I am just ecstatic because I've been taking Ubers for 3 weeks and it is very, very costly. Even when you do the Uber hack, oh yes, anybody doesn't know, the Uber hack of the guy shows up, you offer him cash, count, and if he agrees, you cancel a call, and you can get about 30 to 40% off your ride just by offering him, cash for let's say 30 40% off. So if it's $100, offer him 70. And that's how I got to one of my diversity shoots by paying the guy cash. Actually, two of them. It was ridiculous, though. Tactical Shrek. That's funny. Maybe. But I want to come. I always have a cool name. The name I had for the Volvo station wagon was, how do I say it? Hey, did you ever see Kill Bill? And the name of the pickup truck, the disgusting dude from the hospital had. That's what I named.
I
That's
can
what I
remember it
named
had a
my station.
keychain, but I can't remember what the hell it said.
Yeah, it was on the keychain, and I think it said it on the tailgate too. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
my wife used to laugh at it because definitely a Volvo station wagon is not the kind of wagon that you call that. I don't want to get bleeped or somebody's listening with their kids in the car.
Oh yeah, kitty cat wagon.
Yeah, the kitty cat wagon.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, so I'm looking. I don't see the Neo 300 on Amazon, so I don't know what that means. They just don't have, they made a different model number or something now. But the ones I'm looking at are all, like the $60 range, and then they jump up to the 200, and then they really get expensive. So I'm thinking it's probably this $200 ish one. They're calling it the Rambler 100, but it's for just charging things up, but then also your vehicle.
Okay, there's another one. This is what I'm looking at. It's called the NOCO,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's a jump starter too. NOCO, yeah.
My experience with them, unfortunately, is that they work fine for a bit and then they don't. So, and then they just go from like working, and then they just don't work anymore.
Which
And
ones?
well, just all of them. I've had plenty over the years.
Oh.
Now, back in the day, it wasn't such a surprise because everything kind of sucked. And nowadays,
Hmm.
I know you can make stuff that doesn't suck, but I'm also trying to buy stuff cheap all the time. So it's not like I'm buying things that I know are going to last for a long time. So in other words, like I'll buy stuff in Harbor Freight or something, and I know it's going to have a lifespan. But the thing is, I guess what I'm also beating around the bush is I'm in Arizona, so the stuff that I have in the vehicle bakes. Like it gets hot in there.
Hmm.
So I am used to stuff that I leave in the vehicle not lasting more than a season or two. You know, it doesn't even necessarily last a whole year, depending on what it is. So I don't really get too concerned that my battery things aren't working, because it could just be something as simple as like solder isn't super strong or something, and it's getting disconnected, or something similar, some kind of hose or connection or something. But often they just won't even start again. So and I have no idea, if that's a quality of build thing, or if that's just the nature of, if we're buying a $200 version of $1,000 piece of equipment, where they cut in corners. They got to cut corners on materials, and probably not so much design, because they're stealing the design. So it'll be on materials and build. What am I trying to say? Like, the quality of build.
Yeah, because he had another one. He had I don't even know. He had two of them. He said, "This is my main one. This is my backup." And so we used his backup. I jumped the vehicle. We ran the vehicle for a little while. And he was like, "Hey, keep it." So I put it on the passenger seat. And he went inside to get my stuff, from his mom's. We come back out, the car had turned off. We're like, "Oh, this ain't good. Let's hook the jumper up." Well, because that sucker had been in the car, I don't know, like hour 40, I don't know how long. It was in there enough that it got hot and stopped working. So he gave me his main one and took his back. So that's what. So definitely, heat does kill that thing.
Oh, I didn't think about that too. Yeah, exactly. Like those things can get hot and just have an internal, what do you call it, thermometer.
Yeah, it has internal thermal cutoff.
Well, hopefully that's something you can get fixed. Like, say those things aren't obscure vehicles that no one's heard of or whatever. I know that they're not necessarily the easiest things to work on. Sometimes they're engineered kind of goofy, where you got to take a lot of stuff off to change things. But hopefully it's
Hmm.
something pretty simple.
Yep, that was the problem I had with the Volvo. I had an XC90 station wagon, and the trans went. And to find a replacement, now you're searching for the all-wheel drive Volvo station wagon of whatever years it used that trans. So that's very narrow. Meanwhile, when you own something like a Hyundai Accent, Honda Accord, Toyota Camry, there's just a crap load more of them. So you'll find. Oh, and by the way, yeah, even if I was going to replace it with a used trans, he was like, "Yeah, if I get a used transmission, I want less than 100,000 miles on it." Okay, well, now you're looking for not a needle in a haystack, but at least a unicorn.
Yeah, you're looking for like that brand new car that got somehow like damaged in a way that it didn't hurt the transmission. So good luck.
Yeah, yeah,
Fight. Well, I don't even know. Like most things are going to hurt the transmission to where you don't want it. So yeah, it's kind of tough to find a.
yeah. That, and you got, I love that people go Volvos are some of the safest cars out there according to the accidents. I'm like, Volvos are not safer than anything else. I think they're just as safe and has safety features as any other car. It's just who the Volvo customer is driving the car. Nobody's drag racing in the Volvo station wagon. Nobody's stunting in the Volvo station wagon. Nobody's ghost whipping the Volvo station wagon. Like, you have the most boring people driving the 10, the hands at 10 and 2 in a Volvo station wagon. So there are a lot less accidents.
I borrowed a Volvo Turbo one time and was driving around Phoenix, and I'm surprised I didn't get a ticket because I'm used to driving. I don't remember, either a truck or a van at the time. So
Hmm.
that little car was just booking, and I didn't realize because I was used to things taking forever, So anyway, I was getting like 70 every time I'd leave or it felt like it every time I'd leave a red light. But he's saying how long it lasted 110 volts. Even though I don't know nothing about this Nebo Rambler, I have tested enough of these other power stations and power supplies, just especially now in the last month. But like just camping a lot this year, we just charge up our power banks and then bring them out, and we don't really run things off of them, but I do recharge everything, and I recharge the drone batteries, and then I recharge the fans that we use. We use a lot of fans nowadays, and cameras and phones. So those batteries will do that kind of work, like recharging other batteries. Something like the rate of 50% of the battery per day. So my big one will be less than that, but my little ones that are the size of like a lunchbox can do a couple of days once you charge them up. And if you get something like a solar trickle, thing to recharge them, and you have, if you're at a camp or something and you can leave some solar panels out to help trickle charge those things, you might get 3-4 days out of those ones that look like a brick or look like a lunchbox. That I'm guessing is about the size you're talking about. So anyway, I'm pretty impressed with maybe not always the build quality, but with the ability of these modern, I guess they're lithium batteries in these things. I don't know, because they're not real heavy. So I'm guessing they're not lead batteries in these things. And they're probably using the batteries from like power drills and things from a couple of years ago when the batteries were a little bit bigger. People don't even want those 18-volt batteries anymore. So I'm guessing they're, kind of reusing some of those for some of these power supplies. I mean, I don't really know, but I'm guessing. And the nice thing about purchasing things online these days, most of the time you can return it if it doesn't turn out to do what you want it to do. So you got some time you're wasting, but you're probably not in danger of wasting too much money, hopefully. Chris saying Thursday night football's been a thing for a while.
Oh, really? I don't know. Uh,
Back in the day, like no gun people played sports or did sports or followed sports, and nowadays it seems like more. Now that we have the internet, more gun people do sports or follow sports and stuff. But I mean, I couldn't win a contest on what cities have what sports teams. I mean, I know the easy ones that I just like Chicago Bears or something, but I don't know much more than the easiest ones.
Oh, I know. I knew absolutely not because I don't never followed a team. I'm from Virginia originally, and we didn't have a team. So you grew up just being a fan of whatever team tickled your fan. You know what I mean? There was no loyalty to your home team, home state team.
I guess I just never
So
knew anybody that followed sports growing up, so I just it wasn't even ever a thing for us. Like nothing rotated around it or revolved around it, and nobody we knew, like none of the family, whatever you want to call it, family friends were into it, I guess. So yeah, it was just never a thing. I knew
yeah,
they had no idea how big a thing they were until later in life.
we had have a couple uncles that were Washington Redskins fans because I was as close as you got. You know what I mean? To Virginia was the Redskins. Then I had an uncle and an aunt who were both what do you call it? Cowboys fans. And then I had somebody I forgot who it was that was Pittsburgh fans, and they would all talk smack to each other. But they were brother and sister, so big deal. Big deal. They would talk smack to each other regardless. Football just happened to be one of those things. But I never got into it. My mom didn't watch, my dad didn't watch, so it wasn't in my house. It was only when I went to my grandmom's house and my uncles were there, and they were all talking smack to each other. And outside of that, yeah, I didn't really. It just seemed like a fun thing. Nobody had bets going. No one was yelling and cursing and being upset. I didn't see that until I got to be an adult, and I'm looking at those people like, "What is wrong with you, bro?" It's
Taking it
like,
to like an extreme.
yeah, I mean, we had guys at work, man, who wouldn't talk to each other during the season because of a game. I'm like, you won't play it? Why don't you calm down? I just then I don't understand it, so I leave it alone. I mean, I'm not gonna poo-poo it. It's just nothing I get to be that upset over other grown men playing ball.
No, I mean I get the I guess what do you call it? Like being a fan or something, kind of like being an
Yeah,
Elvis fan or being a fan of I don't know, something else that you just get that camaraderie or whatever, and it
yeah.
gives you a way to if you're at a bar or whatever, you know which side of the bar to sit on or what. But yeah, you can also just there's the alternate of not playing either. I think it's kind of like politics, right? So it's kind of like there's a lot
Oh,
of people that go, oh, you got to choose which side of the bar to sit on. It's like, well, or you could choose not to watch the game and you could just have a beer and drink or eat some lunch and leave.
yeah,
But not everybody's here for that.
yeah. It's 100% like politics. It's like, you know what? I choose not to be a part of any team, and I'll sit here and watch you people be crazy.
Really get involved. Although saying I do chili with onion, sour cream, cheddar cheese, crackers, maybe jalapeno. The cottage cheese was off on the side.
Oh, okay. I thought it was some new crazy thing.
I could see it, but to switch out the sour cream thing is I don't think sour cream is that bad for you, is it? So I
Yeah, that's just
think
sour
it
cream.
needs to be, it's just some extra protein, right? Let's see. Then there was another one here from Ghost Town said, I sent all my worn mags to Glock and got brand new ones back for free. Even a few of the 80s came back from the 80s came back as shiny new Gen 5 mags. Pretty stoked about that service. So I did not know they had that service, but I am also a collector, so I would never have sent back old mags. I'll send back, stuff that's not collectible, but I would have kept anything collectible. But that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Especially when I like to think of when I was training all the time and doing stuff and using guns a lot. I had my mags that were my training mags, and then I had
Training.
my mags that
Mm-hmm.
were my go-to mags, and then I had my shit hits and fan mags, and probably some other mags. And then I probably had some that I never even took out of bags because my thing was to go to gun shows and buy magazines to offset the price of admission to a gun show if I had to pay to get in. And
Uh-huh.
so I just bought mags a lot. I don't think there's ever a reason to buy either mags or ammo. Like they're both perishable. Like they're both consumable, I guess I should say, to the gun. So you can't have enough of either, and they need both to run. So anyway, I was buying a lot of them. But I like that idea because the ones I would use as training mags, I didn't have any problem, you know, beating them up until they were no good anymore. I would sometimes keep a bad one around, but most of the time I just got rid of them. I didn't know you could put them in a bag and just send them to Glock and get new ones. That's awesome. And that's something that's got to bother people 6 ways to Sunday because their mags are already good, if not the best, I think. If not the best design, if so I guess somebody could say they're not the best for some reason, but if there's better stuff now. But anyway, that's got to bother people because a lot of guns, the mags are almost
The
what's
weak
it
point.
like, oh, I forgot about mags. Yeah, let's just use the mags that the Beretta uses. Like, I wish I had a buck for every gun that uses a Beretta 92 mag,
Why not? Beretta has a buck for every gun that uses.
But yeah, that's cool. I don't know. Do you have enough Glocks to do that?
No, see, because I had a 19 and my hand is too big for the grip, so I use Magpul mags for my Glock 19
Oh,
because
okay.
the base plate is thicker and it gives my my pinky somewhere to go. Um, but I have that 19X size Timber Wolf coming, oh Lone Wolf coming, and the Dusk X, and I'm going to start using Glock mags for that because the Glock mags are more dependable than the not the Pro Mags. The what word did I just use? Oh, Magpul P Mags, because I've had two Magpul P Mags go down on me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in training, followers stopped following. Yeah, follower all of a sudden became an independent woman and just hung up inside the body, and it did absolutely nothing. And I'm like, strip out, pop a new one in, keep running it until you take a break, and I pick it up, and it was a Maraca.
That's queer, crazy. I had the first time I ever did a crap. I can't remember if it was a GSSF match or if it was just a standard match. But one of the first times I ever did a match, and for sure the first time I ever did one with a Glock, um, I was using aftermarket Glocks because I didn't care. Magazine's magazine. That's what I used to think.
Mhm.
And this was nothing. This was like I say, it's either a GSSF match, which are the least stressful of all matches ever, or it was some other match happening at the local uh, outdoor range here, which again, no consequence at all. So I don't even care about being embarrassed or nothing. Like the fact that it didn't work just opened my eyes to the fact that magazines do matter, because exactly what you said. For some reason, the magazine just said, nah, or the follower, I mean, just said, nah, I'm
Mhm.
done. And when these fake Glock mags try to be Glock mags, like they don't do it. And that's the result, is that the followers go, no, I don't need to go through this. I don't want to go move plastic on plastic or plastic on metal or whatever they're trying to do. And, sometimes I don't know if I don't know what Glock does, but I know that Phobos holsters, they used to say that
Mhm.
they would impregnate their plastic, their material when they make it with Teflon or something, so that it would slide smooth and not rust your gun. So that unlike a piece of regular untreated plastic, this this repelled water or something, like this didn't have a tendency to help like encourage rust on your gun while you're carrying it. And I always thought that was cool. And I always wondered, if that's something that, they have some kind of chemicals that they put into their polymers that make them different than the other companies. And I don't know if that's part of it, like if they have some kind of Teflon in there, or if they have something that makes it whatever, slide better. But the other companies certainly don't, because they won't. They'll clog up. They'll stop. And there's nothing you can do about it, because a stuck follower, you got to take the base plate off and take it all apart, like figure out what's going on and hopefully get it running again. But it's kind of a hopefully, because if it was a dent or a squish or something, then I mean, you can kind of technically get that running again, but are you ever going to trust it again? Because now it's weak and it's going to, be prone to dent again. So anyway, that was my experience. It only took me one time, and I never went back to aftermarket mags, unless we're talking training where I kind of don't care if a failure gets induced, or training and I'm going to be like yanking them and throwing them on the ground. Then I just don't, I would rather do that to a $10 thing than a $25 thing.
Well, that's also what got to me, because I had two things happen in that one training class. It was, a carbine class, and I was running my 9mm carbine that takes Glock mags. And not only did I have the mag go down, all right, cool, mag went down. I have others, you take several. Then I had a squib happen, and it jammed up into the barrel, and we couldn't get it undone. We couldn't get it out. We couldn't clear it. And I'm talking about with a 3-pound sledge and a rod, we couldn't get that round out of my barrel. So not only did the mag go down, but the gun went down. That was fun. And yeah, so the gun went down, and I pulled out my high point 9mm carbine in the bullpup chassis, and I actually ran that the whole class. And I'm talking about the mag went down and the gun went down within the first hour of the class. And these are mags in the firearm that I've used for, I think, 6 years. 6 years in diversity shoots, and
I was
it
going to say,
lasted an hour.
do you carry it?
Yeah. What?
Do you carry them at all?
Correct.
Those
Oh,
mags?
those mags? Yeah, I carry them. I carry them,
Okay.
but
Because that can be an eye opener too.
I carry them, and I also make sure I have another magazine. And I never had any problems with them. I run competitions with these two, and I never had a problem. But man, got into a class, got into a couple magazines deep, and it went. So I don't know.
Well, I don't know, like you go to a regular range and you're going to stand there slowly shooting as accurately as you can at a bullseye. And you're just going to square up, and you're going to, make your shoulders strong. Like you're going to do that kind of stuff to make sure you get consistency and accuracy or whatever. But then training is a lot more like, you've done it fast and I'm in front of people and there's all this stress. I think you're going to have more like squeeze on the gun, perhaps, a lot faster reactions to things, a lot quicker handling. And I think that just, it's just a different handling, really. It's just a different, the gun experience is a different thing. And that's where, both are good, because if the gun can't shoot worth the shit, it's useless. But if it can't do stuff in, quickly, it's useless also. If it can shoot great, but you can't get it into action, then who cares? But if you can get it into action and it can't shoot side of a barn, then it doesn't matter. It's not that great either. But most guns can shoot that side of a barn, so that's kind of not a big issue. I don't know about holster stuff. Maybe, just holstering and unholstering, like that kind of stuff can, I don't know, just make a gun different, just kind of push things, squish things where when you're just setting it on the table and you're casually bringing it up and setting it back down, it's just not under the same kind of stressors. So Aldo is asking, my gun question is, what do you think of USB rechargeable weapons lights? Now, I'm assuming USB rechargeable would mean also the kind with like the magnetics. So I don't know if we have to limit it to just, some kind of a port on the side with a rubber dongle that jams in there, like a cork to keep it weatherproof. But some of them have like a magnet. I don't know if there's a big difference between the two, other than my issue with USB rechargeable. I'll just answer, I guess, in some lemon, is that like for regular flashlights that have been USB, which I like the concept, and I really, 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 really would rather they all be this way because it's so convenient. When the USB dongle, or not the dongle, but the USB plug breaks, because for me at least, I think it was because the flashlight kept falling off the table or whatever. When I was charging it, I'd have it balanced there and then it would fall over, and eventually that busted the USB port. Well, unless I got like a soldering gun and take it all apart, like I don't know how to, what I mean? Like I can't fix the USB port, and I don't think whatever the company is taking it back. So that would be my issue. It's like I like the convenience of it, but batteries, unless even when a battery explodes in there, like a little bit of baking soda and you clean it up and you can put a new battery in there. So I kind of like batteries better, and you get rechargeable batteries if you want. But I don't know if what's your opinion on this one?
Yeah, so I have, I have a couple of those that use rechargeable batteries. I have a flashlight. One of them, forgot which one it is, have a little port in it that you pull it or extend it and you plug it in. And the flashlight, I'd rather have it take regular batteries, or it can take the rechargeable batteries too. That way I have an option, because like you said, that cord goes, and we've all had USB cords malfunction. I'm done. I can't recharge it if the USB thing goes. So I'd rather have rechargeable batteries with USB, not just a flashlight where you plug it into the batteries and then permanently. Because I think Olight makes one of those.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody besides Olight makes the magnetic kind. Oh, so if he's saying it's easy to lose that little puck, and that would be the other side, like the part it magnetizes to. So I'm not saying those are brilliant. I'm just saying it seems like that's harder to break is all. But yeah, that's a good point. Like I have watches that, if I lose the little chargy thing, now I have to go buy another little chargy thing because they're kind of unique to each stupid watch. But like I said, I think the rechargeable stuff is awesome. Like rechargeable batteries are getting better and better and better. They're lighter, unless I'm crazy. They're lighter than a regular battery, so like weight wise, they're better. And you can get rechargeable 123s. You can get rechargeable whatever the longer thing is, 123, and then obviously AAAs and AA's. And I've had, I don't know how many brands of these things. And what I'll do is, if I'm buying something at a thrift store or something, a lot of times, more often than not, actually, you buy like some kind of a battery operated thing at a thrift store, and there'll be rechargeable batteries in it because whoever was using it had rechargeable batteries in it, and they never thought to take them out. And now you got another set of rechargeable batteries, and they all work in each other's chargers pretty much. So it's pretty simple to just keep charging them.
Yep.
Good to see Guns for Everyone out there. Welcome.
Yeah, Isaac from Guns for Everyone.
All right, I'm going back up then. Ghost Town was saying rechargeable lights are the future. I start every day at full battery brightness, and it's so nice. I was mentioning the fans when we're camping, like the They're, regular size camping fan, I guess. I don't know if there's multiple sizes of these things. They all seem like they're the same size, maybe 8 inches or 12 inches or something. But they almost always have a light on them. They'll almost always like adjust. Sometimes they even oscillate though. But the main thing is the batteries are all about the same size, like kind of a brick size. And that battery will last the fan like running all day, easy, sometimes all day, all night, and more. I had it turned on, like the dog somehow turned it on in the back of the van. And I think it was running because the dog was only in there, right? So I think it was running like most of the day when the dog turned it on. And by the time I figured it out, that was that noise that I was hearing all day. But like we were driving around all day and that thing was running. So anyway, I'm super impressed with battery life of these things nowadays. So I'm definitely a fan of rechargeable stuff. And USB-C, I mean, we have to wait and see what the test of time is. But compared to the old USB, that micro USB or whatever, that had the little clips on it, it just seems like the USB-C is going to be a stronger plug over time. But that being said, the one that I'm complaining about, my Olight or whatever over here, I'm pretty sure it was USB-C. I might have just had a bad one. Like, they make a billion of these things. I'm sure some of them are, the guy's yawning or something when he's watching the soldering things. Because I'm assuming robots do most of the work on these things nowadays. There's just some human poking the robot. Scott's asking if you ever tested any solar battery chargers for automobiles. No, I haven't had that issue. I get my batteries swapped out whenever I start getting any kind of issue with my battery. I'll just buy a new one. I don't remember what they cost anymore, but batteries aren't that expensive. Even my cheap ass will go just buy a new one. So I haven't, because it's in Arizona, like our batteries work and then they just don't work. So, they don't stop working. Like they just, one day it doesn't work and I just get a new battery. So I haven't had where like, a trickle charger or anything would help me. But they must be fine because we have tons of solar here. So I'm assuming if you had a battery that was dying, what would that be? Like a short or something you got in there that's, I guess a short, something in there that's somehow leaking power from you, like a bad motor or a bad, I don't know, it could be anything, I guess, that's got, a small short.
It can be a lot of different reasons. There's never, from doing what I do, working on the electric motors and sometimes there's just never one reason that things go squirrely. It's like, three different things happen.
So I guess in those kind of situations, I could totally see it. I just might, knock on wood or whatever, the van hasn't needed. The last van probably would have needed something like that because it's, it was a 10-year, 20-year older van. But no, I haven't. I have solar panels that charge batteries, like battery banks, I guess, that you use like a solar generator battery, they call it or something. So that's just I guess a car battery, but nowhere near the kind of loads that a car battery is doing when it's cranking or anything like that. And then that's where I stopped highlighting them. I don't know if we have any new ones since then. It looks like a lot of comments have been coming in since then. Aldo saying, I think.
Yeah, Isaac said he's finishing up his morning classes over there at Guns for Everyone. Hey, you guys, if you haven't heard of them, they're awesome. They're in Colorado, and they actually give free classes. Concealed carry.
Forgot the last time they said it, but it was something like, is it 1 out of 10 or something? CCWs in Colorado has been through Guns for Everyone, and for free.
Yeah, I don't know that number. I just know they do a lot of them. They got a bunch of hate from my other instructors because how dare they do this thing for free, as if these other instructors, I don't know, can't do a little hustle and do business on their own. It's like, okay, yeah, this guy's doing stuff for free. He can't handle everyone in Colorado, so get busy, get out and advertise and be somebody and create word of mouth. Some of these instructors just don't get advocacy and how to actually improve whatever, dude. I've been blessed because usually those people shut up and don't deal with me. And I have people that actually want to help and volunteer at our events. And those are the people I listen to. The negative comments I usually blow off, or friends of mine see it and they just dogpile on these douche canoes. So I don't even have to deal with them, and they usually end up deleting their own comment. But yeah, the hater's gonna hate, man, especially when you're doing good work.
Yeah, Colorado's a interesting place. I keep putting a candy in my mouth. I should quit doing that while I'm talking. Colorado's an interesting place. I can't imagine. I don't even know what the dynamic is of people like moving in and out of Colorado, but just from being there or going there, most of the state is on that road that goes north and south, right? Like there's a bunch of mountains there. Nobody can live on those. Then there's a bunch of fields and crops and stuff that nobody lives on. Cows, I don't know what they are, whatever the stuff is on those plains on the east side of Colorado. And then on the very far west of Colorado, I've seen that now, and it's pretty much deserty plains. So I don't think there's much going on over there. So pretty much all the stuff going on in Colorado is like Denver, Colorado City, Boulder, and all that, all in a straight line. And it's got to be a crazy mix of, like, I don't know, I don't know who lived there originally, but like probably something like ranchers and whatever the industries are out of the mountains. And then you've got the Air Force has a massive thing going on in Colorado. And then you got all the people that moved in because it's not really like Oregon, but it's kind of like Portland. I think of Denver, kind of like a mix between Portland and I don't know, but you know what I mean? Like it's like the Portland of the middle of the country because a bunch of weird people seems like went to Denver or yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right. And then it got weird with the whole bullshit during the 94 or whatever, during the assault weapons ban, when all that crap started happening. And then they went, for whatever reason well, I guess because of that got crazy anti-gun. Because I can't imagine why Colorado would have just gone anti-gun. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they were susceptible to outside influences. I think it was just that happened there and it kind of started the whole thing, and now it's like they just, I think that's there. But anyway, so I can't imagine what it's like trying to be either a gun shop or an instructor, or in this case a CCW class in a state like that, because there's a ton of people, but like I say, they're just so, I don't know what that mix would be like, and I don't know how much they mix. You know what I mean? They're all there, but are they mixing very well?
Well, in my opinion, what's happening to Colorado, it happened to Jersey. You just had these people moving in from out of state, and they just changed the freaking dynamic of what Colorado was into some bull crap that they're dealing with now. And that really just sucks because Edgar and Isaac are going through some bull crap up there. And it's frustrating as someone who lives in New Jersey, watching another state slowly become New Jersey. And then watching, listen to gun people just say dumb stuff like, why don't you move to a free state? They're coming to free states. No, you need to fight where you are. Don't run, don't run around calling yourself a patriot and pretending you're Mel Gibson in the movie when your first reaction to anybody that's fighting back is run away. I'm like, no, I'm not running away. I'm fighting here. I'm fighting here, and I'm going to be a pain in their ass from the beginning until the bitter friggin' end, or until I get tired of it and it's just costing me too much family time, or it's starting to affect my life really severely. Then you can step back. You can step back. You can take a little bit off. You can step away. No reason to burn out. And I'd rather people fight. And if it gets to be too much, they can take a step back and, hey, cut a check. $5 to guns for everyone, $5 to the Second Amendments for everyone, $5 to freaking Maj and his work. Like, you don't have to participate and be that dude on the cutting edge. You don't have to go to every meeting. You don't have to volunteer for everything. But man, don't tell me to run away. Like,
I don't know. You might not want to go to every meeting, and you might not be able to go to every meeting, but I think you can there's definitely, with the technology we've got, a way to be aware of every meeting, if that's clear. There's a clear line. But anyway, if somebody really wanted to, in other words, they could. I'm thinking of like the NRA did attempts back in the beginning of the internet, when before all this craziness of the last few years. You got to think this 20-something years ago, back in the day, all the different organizations. Very few of them existed. Some of the main ones were still there, but still young. But anyway, they were all whatever, doing their thing. And I know that the NRA attempted to have essentially a calendar, or whatever you want to call, like a calendar, like a list of events for the year or something, so that you could become aware of all that. But aside from that, like, again, years and years and years ago, when it was almost possible, like, the thing is, it's so difficult now that I can't imagine, that would take quite an effort. But it is possible. Like, technically, a lot of this stuff, like, think of that Eventbrite you've got. If there was a 2A Eventbrite where people, it wasn't so much for selling tickets as much as letting people virtually attend, somewhere in 2020, somebody could have come up with that. But nobody, I don't think anybody did. You know what I mean? Like, some sort of a way that you have, like, maybe what am I trying to say? Like a switchboard, or like a
so
come together for all the different events that happen.
NRA ILA had an app. They shut it down, but they had an app, and it would tell you where every one of their, because they were doing a community thing. I think that might even been the name of community or something. And it would tell you where every one of their meetings were, because usually they'd host a meeting once a month in the States at a Cabela's somewhere. I just remember Cabela's being one, but they also had them at gun ranges or whatever, that they would have a meeting so you could actually go and look NRA ILA in the face and actually have a conversation. And they got rid of freaking app. That was one of their cost-cutting bull crap, to buy, Wayne another fucking suit. But they cut that money down. And I know NRA and NRA ILA are two different things, but everybody gets hit with that brush of BS sometimes when I get worked up.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't know problem. But it's probably also a factor, and we don't like to think about it, but it's probably also a factor that people weren't showing up. People didn't care. And when they'd ask them, no one, click that button on the questionnaire and what should we keep? Because we tend to not, it's housekeeping, you know what I mean? It's like preventive maintenance. There's nothing sexy about it. And no one has showed us how, I don't know if we can make it sexy, but no one showed us how important it is. Will preventive maintenance, the shits our guns don't get rusty. Will preventive maintenance, like, our skill sets so that our skills don't get rusty. Will preventive maintenance a lot of other stuff in our community, but not mental health and not our rights, which I don't know how close together those are, but those are the two things I can think of that, we don't foster just our community itself. Like, we just take it for granted and then get mad when we get pissy when it's not perfect. And, we yell at the clouds when it's not there.
Well, I was using the app, and this is back when you were doing the same thing. Whenever there's a rally, regardless of where it was in the country, you'd advertise it on your page. And that's what I started doing. I was like, because I noticed, and it's really weird when you get known on the internet by people everywhere. You know what I mean? It's like, I know I live in Jersey and I host events in Jersey, but people everywhere look at my page. So why aren't I posting where other things are outside of Jersey and, Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania, where mostly I do the work? And I just started doing that. And that was a way for me to actually have events. Hey, go be seen, go talk to these people, go complain about the stuff you want to complain about in your state. That's where to do it. And definitely join. My whole thing is, a lot of people will sit around and not do anything if they don't think this right affects them. And then the gun owners that sit around and don't do anything really piss me off. I live in a free state. I don't have to worry about that here in Louisiana. Well, yeah, you do, because the thing that worked in Jersey migrated to Nevada, and it also bounced up to Seattle, and then it hit in Oregon, and now it's coming to you because they all read off the same script. It'll get to you eventually, and that's what we try to make people understand. It's like, no, you need to fight now. You need to get involved now in your state to let them hear your voice, so when something happens, because obviously there's going to be either a national level tragedy that will inspire, or they will make that phone call and have them push nationwide for some anti-gun legislation, or something will happen in your state to make people push for that anti-gun legislation because it'll be an opportune time to take advantage of a tragedy. Let's stop pretending they really care, because they'd work on it all the time if they did. Um, and you've never spoken to your elected representative. They don't know you exist. They've never got a pro-gun phone call ever. And then all of a sudden their phone starts blowing up because moms demand have their little freaking minions making phone calls. And this guy's like, well, holy crap, nobody ever calls me in my district. And now I have 15 phone calls today saying vote yes for this bill that is a red flag law. And it's like, yeah, that's because you as the gun owners never called and established a relationship. Hey, Tim, my name's Tony, and I live in your district. And I see you voted for our Second Amendment rights. I really appreciate it. Where do I write? I want to donate $20 to your freaking campaign fund. Now, not only am I a constituent, I'm a constituent that's reached out, and I'm a constituent that is now on another level because I'm a donor. And I didn't have to do a $200 a plate rubber chicken dinner. I gave $20. And all of a sudden, when I make that phone call, hey, that's Tony again on the line. I'll take it, or at least I'll actually answer this email and not send it to that robo kickback. We thank you for your time. We want to we want to support all of our constituents. Email. It's actually an email from, if not him, the person. It's from their intern. Somebody actually saw it. We have to participate before the poop hits the fan. And really, right now, with the recent events, we need to do it because there's a whole political buildup going around nationwide, and we really need to push for freedom and push against pretty much anti-freedom legislation.
I was fiddling with my thing here, trying to show off my new little gadget. But I can't agree more with you, dude, because I was just doing a bunch of posts, scheduling a bunch of posts, and I included call your congressman one. I was going through and looking like what post should I reschedule, or which post should I schedule on a regular basis, and I think that's one of the more important ones. It wasn't that long ago. It was, I can't remember. It was like maybe 2 months ago, maybe, that GOA had an interview with, I think it was Massey, but it was one of the politicians about one of the gun bills that was happening. And almost at the end, they're kind of saying their goodbyes. And, it's like an 11-minute video or 6-minute video. It's not very long. And they're saying their goodbyes. So it's like right at the end of the video, Eric Pratt says to Massey something like, all right, do you have anything else to say? And he's like, yeah, I do. Because, we don't get that many phone calls, and we care a lot about our phone calls. Let people know, I'm telling the people that are listening or something like that, like how much these matter. Like when we get a phone call or two, that's a big deal. So when we get a pile of phone calls, that changes policy. So we can't forget that I think part of the bullshit is that there's this perception that you're just one person. There's 300 million people in the country. So shut up and sit down. You're never going to be worth nothing. But in the reality of how they built this thing in the first place, there's, a number of representatives. And then as soon as there's too many people, there's another representative. So, it can be fuller or less, and there can be participation and not. But yeah, we all have a pretty decent opportunity to talk to that representative. The senators maybe a little less. And anyway, I really like that facet of that conversation, that how powerful a phone call can be. And then it was Cheryl Todd was interviewing somebody at Goals, and I can't remember now. Was it I think it was the Pam from Arizona, or from Virginia Citizens Defense League. I think it was.
Yeah, Patricia.
Yeah, it's not Pam. I think it was her, and she said something like, when someone is running for office, she'll call them on the phone, and if they won't talk to her then, she knows that they'll never talk to her when they're in office. But if they do talk to her when they're running, now she's been talking to them since before they were even elected. And I'll just throw in there to whatever re-emphasize what you just said about the $20. Yeah, it doesn't matter what, fill in the blank, $20. I don't think there's much need to put in much more, but if you've got $200, I guess you could. There's probably better ways to spend $200. But anyway, that $20, if you did that on a regular basis, I suspect you'd be you'd be in a smaller group that would have more access to a representative of any size, even though it doesn't sound like a lot. That gets you on the books every month. You're on a list, and eventually that'll accumulate to $100 or more bucks. So now, a lot of people probably just do $20 and never talk to them again. I mean, I've done that. So I suspect if you're at the $100 level, at least you're on a little bit smaller list. But then that consistency of talking to them or calling them is, goes hand in hand. Like now there's, I'm not going to say you're paying to talk to them, but in a way, the more contact you have with them, and for $20 you can create a contact with them that, like you say, they're going to be more apt to take a phone call. And it's not like you're trying to change their mind. You're just letting them know that, hey, the constituent out here cares enough to say this is the position we care about. And that's their goal, right? That's their job, is to understand their constituency and to then, act on that. So you can't just assume that they know your position because where you live. Like, what do you mean? Like, oh, I live on anti-gun street, or I live on pro-gun street. Like, they don't know that. They have to be told. So I dig everything you just said, and I've been trying to, it's kind of like DJ, let people know that those numbers are out there. You're allowed to call them anytime you want. You got an idea, you got an opinion, you hear something on the news, call them. It's not bothering them. That's why they have the phone numbers. Like, their job is to grease the wheels between you and the government. The only way that happens is with a person whose job is to be in charge of a certain number of people. And when their complaints or their praises or their concerns, that's how they get introduced to the system. So, I mean, pretty much everything that's out there, minus the big stuff that, like a war or something, but all the little stuff was probably all instigated by somebody saying, hey, you know what we should have? And then either enough people said it, or, the person heard it at the right time when it worked for policy or whatever. But anyway, going off on this tangent.
Oh, and yeah, well, okay, fine. It's tangent time. I'm cool with that. One of the worst excuses, most un-American crap you can ever say is I don't participate because I don't want to be on a list. Let me tell you something. The most American mother effers put their name on a list. They wrote it on a list. John Hancock was the biggest name on the list. They put it out there. That's what they did. That's what the founding fathers did. And you're going to sit there and tell me as an adult you don't want to stand for something because your name might go on a list? Okay. Thank you for pointing out what kind of person you are. And that's all I'll say. I understand if you can't support it, because I live in a state where you will be ostracized. You might lose your job. I get it. But there's still ways for you to support it if you're not going to speak up. There's still ways for you to stand behind it. Everybody doesn't have to be the guerrilla fighter. A lot of people can be the support units. They could be the support in many different ways. But if you're only going to be a negative Nancy in the online community and never stand for anything, then keep it quiet, bro. Just shut up. If you're not going to support it, you're going to say that you're worried about what'll happen. You don't want to be on the list. And anytime anybody says anything, you take the negative side. Oh, well, your vote doesn't count for anything. Oh, what are you going to do? Oh, you can't stop this legislation. Oh, you're peeing against the wind. I don't really need you here, bro. You're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. You're contributing nothing. And I've had a lot of those over the years. Sometimes I ignore them. Every now and again, if I feel like I want to actually speak to the audience through my response to that person, that's how I use them. Outside of that, I ignore them. They bring nothing to the table. They're the neighbor that lived next to nowhere telling them, like, you think you're going to put everything on a big boat, right? and just float away. Let's leave that alone because I made fun of that with my mom last week in our phone call. My mom, I was raised in church. My mom was my Sunday school teacher. My dad was a superintendent, and I became a Sunday school teacher at like 15. But I made a joke about Noah and the ark and how come there are no unicorns. I was like, 40 days and 40 nights is a long time to be. Hey, let's get rid of the horse with one horn. We'll eat that. Nobody will miss it. And that's why you don't have unicorns today.
Yeah, they were being a jerk. They're poking into everybody.
It's like, hey, why don't we take that
the
weird?
myth is that they're nice and they're gentle or whatever. They were probably assholes.
Oh yeah, they were definitely assholes. How long gonna be? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? You know what? Let's take care of that one horn talking horse. Here's our chance.
Maybe it wasn't nefarious. Maybe something happened and they fell over. They were,
No.
on the side of the boat when they shouldn't have been. A storm happened. They fell overboard and no one knew.
Nah, I don't think so. I think 40 days is a long time to be on the ship. Back in the day, you want fresh meat.
The
And there's
lions
that
are
asshole
looking at
horseman.
everybody like a pork chop.
Yeah, the lions, they just keep knocking them out with Benadryl. Every time they get up.
Oh my goodness, I never thought about it that way. People will say like, "How do they bring enough meat for the lions?" Like, all you have to really do is bring enough wine for 40 days. They'll just be drunk for 40 days and be hungry.
Yep, there you go. Let them stumble off. Good luck, everybody else. So, had a funny incident happen yesterday while we were waiting for the wake because they had the wake at I think it was 8:30. So Angela and I are sitting in the vehicle underneath a tree, and we're both on our phones, doing anything because we're waiting. We showed up a half hour early. All of a sudden, an acorn fell out of the tree and hit the roof of the truck. And we both started looking at each other and screamed, shots fired, like the acorn cop that opened fire on his own squad car. Oh, had to be there for that one. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I missed that one when it happened, but I know what you're talking of. Yeah.
It was just funny. We're dead quiet in the truck. We're both on the phone doing something completely different. The acorn hit the truck. We looked up, looked at each other, and just started screaming, shots fired, and then just fell out laughing. And I'm like, that is funny. That is a gun guy thing.
That'll be
That
happening
dude
for a
have
while.
to. Oh, that'll be happening for a while. I'm sure that dude works at Best Buy somewhere, backing up stuff in the back. There's no way he went back into law enforcement.
Well, you're kidding, but it's probably right back on the job. They're just saying we had a conversation with the teacher, some blue team. I asked if the antis took 10,000 guns a day. So I guess if buybacks or some kind of turn in your gun thing happened, 10,000 guns a day, how long would it take to round up the 400 million guns that are estimated to exist in just the United States? And let's say it's 300 million, who cares? Because it's still a lot of guns. So how long would it take 10,000 a day? And Wood said that, it would take more than 109 years. So yeah, even if you said, okay, it's only 300 million guns, that those are the only dangerous ones. Well, okay, so you're still talking 100 years-ish worth of daily effort. And, well, you brought up a good point here that it's not like they would be gone like vapor and people would just go, okay. I mean, gun owning or law-abiding people would be like, I don't like this, but okay, because I agreed to it or I was forced into it or whatever. But guess what criminals do? Whatever they want. So you're right. They're going to get their guns from wherever they get their drugs from, probably.
Oh, I'm talking about regular responsible citizens will go, okay, yeah, you can have this one. Guess what I'm
you
doing
can
in
have
the
all
back?
the ones you know about. Yeah.
Yep, print a go burr. So it's like if they started confiscating $10,000 a day, 10,000 guns a day, how many weeks would it take before Americans start illegally producing over 10,000 guns a day on their own?
right, printing or producing, yeah. But so
Mm-hmm.
let's say though that wasn't the case, that everyone was on board with this like concept that, like, if you just don't have a dangerous thing, then no danger happens, because danger is
Mm-hmm.
created by the thing, like, and
Mm-hmm.
gravity isn't a thing, and other things don't count. So it's really just this one thing that we've been told to be
Yeah.
concerned about. So once we get rid of them, we're good. So we get 10,000 a day for 100 years or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, even if we disregard your point, which is solid, where was it? They couldn't take
Yeah.
400 million pencils. Like, start thinking about, these are things that are distributed in a whole bunch of drawers and safes and cabinets and, stuff. So where are they putting these things? Like, I mean, are they going to build
Okay.
warehouses? Are we melting them down? Like,
See,
this
the
is a phenomenal,
the
like,
problem.
massive amount of stuff that they're thinking they're going to just pick up and take to somewhere.
Well, the problem with this kind of thinking, in my opinion, is you have to dismiss every bit of reality. So you're going to talk about there's going to be
Right.
109 years without
Don't think
violent crime, enough to somebody go, man, I shouldn't have given my gun. I think I'll make one myself, or I'll buy one of the ones on the illegal market. It's like, no, you're not going to have 109 violentless, crime-free years. What you're going to have is a spike in violent crime, and people know they just gave away their tool to actually protect themselves from this violent crime. So, yeah, you have to just go suspend disbelief and pretend none of this exists and just look at it as a math problem. All right, cool.
right.
You got rid of these things. It took 109 years to get rid of them if you don't involve reality at all. Now you not have gun crimes. You have strong arm robbery. You have people using pipes, knives, spikes, bows and arrows. Like, crime doesn't go away because it's not the thing. So all we're talking about is who would win in a fight, Superman or Spider-Man kind of thing going. It really doesn't make any sense. It's not even a mental exercise. It's mental masturbation. Like, let's talk about it for real. What
No,
happens
exactly.
once you give enough guns away that the criminals feel emboldened and they know most citizens don't have a firearm? Well, you'll have what you had in Detroit before they passed concealed carry, what you had in Washington, D.C. before friggin' Heller. Like, you
People
will
don't
have
remember
violent
the
crime.
cities being violent. They don't know
Yeah.
what that means, right? They'd see LA and they go, "Oh, that's violent." Like, yeah, that's LA
Yeah.
violent. That's gangs being mean to each other for the most part. But like, yeah, when you're
We've
talking,
had crime drop. Yeah, we've had crime drop for over 4 decades.
but you're
And
talking
it's getting
people with
better.
just like, like, "Oh, I'm being mugged. I got mugged on the way over. That's why it took me 10 minutes, and I don't have a
Yep.
purse now." Like, that was just a way people dealt with crime. They like got mugged. I guess they still
100%.
have to in New York, but it's not like that in other places.
Yeah. I mean, no, my partner told me, because, listen, we live in Jersey. Uh, he worked in Newark. He got robbed. He got robbed at the pump, like in front of the freaking pump. And he went to pay. The guy came around to a car. He's like, hey, where's $30 or whatever? He was like, I just got robbed. And the guy was like, what are you talking about? Guy walked up to the driver's side door while the attendant was on the other side of the car and held up the driver at gunpoint and
Oh,
walked off.
you got
And walked.
mandatory full service there.
Yeah, we got mandatory.
So there's mandatory full service. You're not even legally allowed to get out of your car, I bet. And the criminals can just walk up and rob you while the
Yeah,
guy's,
I mean,
if your
you can't
tank
pump
is
your
on the
gas.
other
You can
side.
clean your Yeah, you can clean your window if you want to. But yeah, you can't pump your own gas. So pretty much you're sitting in the car.
Okay. So you can get out of your car if you want to. Like,
Yeah,
you can go and get a
yeah,
candy
yeah,
bar or something. I didn't think of that. Yeah, okay.
yeah. But yeah, you're not pumping your gas in New
Oh, hold
Jersey.
on.
It's
So when
actually
you're
law.
paying for full service gas, they're not washing your windows for you and your headlights and shit? Oh man, that's no fun. I
you,
remember full
you know,
service back in the day. My grandma would get full service because that's the only person I knew that would get full service is my grandma. But
yeah,
she would do it. And yeah, it was awesome. It was like being in a 50s movie or something. Like, they'd check your oil and they'd check the air pressure and they'd clean the windows. It was the same guy, but I mean, while the car was filming, he'd do all that shit. And it was like, if you only had a half a tank of gas, he's only cleaning your windows. But if you had a full tank of gas, then, he had time and he would do the tires and everything. So it was pretty cool back in the day. I thought it was still like that.
Yeah, no, New Jersey. Yeah, you know how attractive the lady would have to be to get her windows cleaned by one of those guys. Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, let me clean your windows, miss, so I can stare at you through it.
All right, so that was a tangent there, but yeah, that's kind of messed up that they're going to make you take this service or whatever, but then you're now susceptible to a whole other kind of crime. And obviously, criminals, right? They're not stupid. Like everybody.
No.
There's this perception that criminals are stupid sometimes, and it's like they're probably the opposite. They're lazy and they're like immoral, but they're not stupid.
Yeah, they're crafty. They're slick, or whatever words you want to use for it. But and some of them are really freaking stupid. But understand that this is their 50th. Yeah, this is their 50th robbery. This is your first one. You have no idea what to freaking do. They have watched you, have clocked you, and they know exactly how you will react to having that gun shoved in your face because they appeared out of nowhere. It's because you had your face in your phone. You didn't have your head on the swivel. You look like meat. You got eaten. And that's what happened. So when I was at WAFT, was it where our families trained down in Orlando, great facility. We did scenario exercises. And they have a huge ass classroom where they actually have a vehicle in. They have an observation post above that goes around almost like a shoot house. And they ran a scenario where they bring in a vehicle, and my job is to get in my car and drive away. Scenarios: I'm parked at work. I walk across the parking lot. I get in my car and I close the door and I start it. That's all I have to do. And they make sure they create scenarios where you have to interact with someone, and then it could go sideways or they can, do whatever. And when I walk, I acknowledge people being there. Hey, what's up, Chief? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what you do here in Jersey. You let these people know, I see you. I see you over there trying to look inconspicuous. It's like, yeah, hey, what's going on, guy?
Yeah. That's cool.
All right. And then the other thing is, I don't invite you to have a conversation with me through my tone. Yeah, I didn't say, hey, what's going on? How you doing? I wasn't being Andy Griffith. I was being Tony Soprano.
More like a narrator. Or like
yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm not going, hey, how you doing? How your mom and them? Mm-mm. Hey, how you doing? Oh, okay. Yeah, that aggressive thing. And it was funny because I didn't know I switched it on. I knew it was scenario training, but I wanted to use it for everything it was. Why pass up this scenario? So I went into it as if it was real. How would I handle this for real? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a little aggressive, you don't want to deal with this. I'm not putting up with your nonsense. And that's what I did. We had 3 scenarios, and all 3 of them, I had a firearm on me, a simulated firearm to shoot UTGs, I think it was. And they were suited up for everything in case we shot them. But 2 out of 3 of scenarios, I'm like, no, an aggressive attitude. And that got him to back off. And then the second one, it was way too much going on near the vehicle. And I walked back in the house. I was like, going back in, calling the cops. You guys do what you want to do. I walked away. And then the third one, I'm waiting outside for the scenario to start. And they have, one of their employees out so they can make sure you're not ear hustling at the door. And I was like, well, this is the one he's going to make me pull the gun out. And the staff said, not necessarily. I'm like, I know when I train people, I do something to make them pull the gun. I want to see if the reason they didn't pull the firearm in the first 2 wasn't because they thought it through, but because they were afraid. Like, I need to know what will make them pull a firearm. And then we can discuss that. Like, does it have to be an actual threat, or what's the idea of a perceived threat, or will they wait too long for an actual threat? And I thought it was really good training. And of course, I walk in the door, they have the lights turned off, so you only have the simulated street lights. So I had to turn on my flashlight, and they had somebody walking towards me with a knife out, like Jason Voorhees, like with it above their head, walking really slow, like they were gonna stab me to death. And I pulled my firearm. I told him to get on his knees, drop the knife, get on his knees, put his hand behind his head. And because again, my job is not to arrest this dude. I'm getting in the vehicle and I'm leaving. Well, they had a second guy on the other side of the car, and he came at me aggressively. He had the knife on his side. I saw it, and I told him to get away, get on the ground, and he refused to do it and started walking towards me. Well, I don't have all these BBs in this Glock for no reason. So I put 5 rounds in him and dropped him because he was coming towards me aggressively after he already saw I had a firearm out and I saw he had a weapon on him. And I assumed he was with the other guy walking around with a weapon on him. So I dumped him. And then I got out of the area. I didn't go to the car because he fell and he was wounded. So, he was making noise. Oh my God, I can't believe you shot me. You shot me. I can't believe that. And I got out of the area and simulated calling 911 because I'm getting out of here and I'm making that first phone call. So all of that's on my page on Simon Says Train on Instagram and my first pinned post. You can watch the entire thing. I thought it was decent. And of course, I critiqued myself for a couple of things that went wrong. And we had that discussion. And I used a hell of a lot of curse words. In post, it sounds hilarious because it sounds like I'm doing my Samuel L. Jackson impersonation. And I could have sworn on a stack of Bibles I hadn't cursed, but I cursed a lot. But it was fun training, and I have no idea what got me on this freaking rope, but getting training like that teaches you a lot about yourself, and it allows you to think through stuff. Like, what would I do if this happened? What would I do if this happened? How do I handle myself?
It's one of those things
And
you can't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah,
You
you
don't know
definitely
what you don't know, or like it's hard to understand the stuff that's behind the curtain because you've never seen behind the curtain, so you don't even know if it's a little bit of stuff or a lot of stuff. So for me, doing Force on Force, whenever I first started doing them, there's so much in getting on that topic, like depending on who's doing it, I guess it's going to depend because if they like tactical response that would come to Tucson quite a bit would allow you to show up as a alumni of the class. You could show up and be a role player for whoever's taking the class this time. So that opportunity, if that's available to you, so there's the opportunity to learn as a role player because you're going to see, I don't know how many people are in a class, 10 to 20 people are in a class usually. You're going to see that many reactions to whatever the scenario might be. And a lot of times in a tactical, I'm trying to say like in a force on force, I should say, kind of class, the scenario isn't the person walks in and then do this. The scenario is like a choose your own adventure sometimes. Like if the person comes up to this side of the bar, you engage with them. If you come up to this side of the bar, you engage with them. If they engage with them, you're nice and they're bad. You know what I mean? Like there's this like set of rules sometimes that the role players will have. And then your interactions will, and so like if he pulls a gun, everybody kills him, like something like that. If he doesn't pull a gun, then you're just all witnesses and, so blah, blah, blah. So it's like, you're never going to win. It's usually some kind of Kobayashi thing or whatever it's called. But, from Star Wars or whatever, Star Trek.
Yep.
Where you, like
Kobayashi rule. Yeah.
So, but the thing is, so you're going in there and you know that. But anyway, so I think there's a lot to learn from these classes. And then, I guess I started ranting on that because that's where I started. Whenever I first started taking those classes, instead of just like reviewing them or being a role player, but actually holding the gun and being the focus of the whole thing, and I guess you could say steering the whole thing. You figure out what you can do. What you think you can do in your head because you've seen a shit ton of movies is not what your feet and arms and fucking brain can do in whatever amount of moments things go down in, and yeah, you could probably watch a whole bunch of people do a scenario and then do the scenario and still fuck it up, still get killed, still kill people, do everything wrong, right? You could do things right too, but more often than not, like I say, the scenarios are kind of built to be very, very overwhelming, I guess, right? Like you're in real life, you don't know the time or the circumstances, you don't know what's around corners, and you don't know what people's reactions are going to be. And really the training is to learn how to hold yourself in check and not just assume a bunch of shit, and then hopefully physically do some shit with a gun, walk around, draw, brandish it in front of fucking people, say stuff. And good force on force will take Tony to task for swearing, because name any, unless you're in the forest or something in the middle of the desert, on the ocean, maybe even then a boat might have a camera. You're probably going to be on camera. So what Tony's talking about, a lawyer would probably much rather have Tony had said, I am not sure who you are. Can you identify yourself? You know what I mean? Like just something much less swearing. You know what I mean? Like just reactive without swearing, because you know what I mean? Like the lawyer can say, hey, what the hell? Somebody who swears like this has seen the streets. Like he's not as scared of this guy, blah, blah, whatever. Who knows what fucking lawyers are going to say. So that kind of shit. But so some of the force on force will take you all the way through and have you really pay attention to that stuff. Some of it is satisfied with like, hey, you know what? You thought you could draw from that holster, but guess what? You can't draw from that holster. Hey, you thought having it off your body was awesome, but guess what? Everybody shot you. Like it doesn't work like that all the time. It works when you want it to work, but when you don't expect it, and you know what I mean? Like you have to react, then it's not the same. So sometimes that's part of it. And, sometimes, again, I don't know, there's too many variables here because there's too many force on force. And of all the different classes I've ever seen, force on force is one of the most variable. Like the thing that you did, where it's like, what was that at the WOFT? Where our family
train. Yeah, where our family train.
To a place in Florida. Like there were people where they were filming from, they were sitting there like in one of those like movies where the operating table is down below and everybody's sitting above watching down into the environment, or like in a shoot house in some movie where like there's a shoot house and you're all looking down into it. So there's other instructors that'll be like, hell no, like whatever you do is private. And one, we don't want you on display like you're entertaining or like you're what's the word? Like that you're
it's a spectator sport or something.
Well, just that you're acting. We don't want you to act. We want you to react, but not anyway. So I've been to a couple of different theories on this. So I know that some instructors would be okay with that and some instructors would not like that. They don't want the other students to see it, and they don't want people to record it. Like I've seen all kinds of reactions to force on force, and they all call it different things too. They don't always call it force on force. But anyway, I think that kind of training though is super good, and a lot of people will either not even know about it or disregard it completely. But anyway, I don't know how we got on this topic, but I think it came from situational awareness. Yeah.
So the guy not paying attention and this being his first robbery, but not the thieves. And we have to,
and that's the kind of thing. Once you experience that, even if it's a car robbery thing, like the thing that we had for it was more of a car like somebody stealing a radio out of your car. And I'm definitely on a different side of the fence than a lot of people. A lot of people are like, oh, you leave that person steal your car and then you call the police and tell them that they stole your radio. And I'm like, hey, that works great for mom who has a radio in her car and that's it. But what if I got guns in that car? Like, I'm just going to let this guy steal a shit ton of guns and I'm going to allow him rummage around looking for more guns? Like, no. To shoot him through the spine because he's looking around in my car and he hasn't found my guns yet? I don't know. But when somebody's smuggling around through the driver's thing and you have, some people just have magnets. Some people have holsters. Some people have lock boxes. But you know what I mean? There's all kinds of pistols. And a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to unholster my gun and holster it in the car. And other people go, I'm just going to buy a second gun and leave it in the car because it costs $200. And I'm just going to buy that other gun and leave it in the car. And I don't have to do the most dangerous thing ever, which is holster and unholster every time I get in and out of my car. And I don't fault anybody for any of those decisions, except for maybe the magnet one. I'm not the biggest fan of the magnets, but in a car, well, in general, but in a car for sure. But anyway, I'm just saying, like somebody who's rummaged around in a car to me is I think we could have a conversation. I think it's more than just it's just property, leave them be. But the other part of it is the tactics that very rarely is one person going to just be rummaging through your car. One kid will be rummaging through your car while the three bullies that forced him to do it are lurking, in three different points of watching them and watching out for anybody else. And you come up and interact with that person, and now you're the center of three bullies, and that kid four.
Well, I'm looking at it, and I bring this up all the time. Our podcast is no longer around self-defense gun stories, but you really should listen to all the old episodes of self-defense gun stories because it was using current robberies, current self-defense uses that also kind of shows you the current tactics. Because no one's stealing the radio out of your car anymore. You know what I mean? But depends on when you came up. Depends on when you were paying attention to crimes, what crimes you think are going on right now. And right now, it's multiples. It's being hit by multiple assailants to overwhelm you. That is the current way things are going down now. Also, active self-protection is another one that shows you stuff, interactions, but it's also people want to poo-poo it, and I get it because whatever. But understand when you're watching it, you're still watching humans interact with humans and how current robberies are happening, especially if it's stateside. And a lot of break-ins are multiple people coming in and overwhelming you in your home, overwhelming you in the driveway. So paying attention makes sense. Someone riding up on a bike, you don't hear a motor running, and then all of a sudden someone's in your space because you weren't paying attention. It's like,
and you've got a bicycle they can wield at you.
Yeah, I mean, they got a bicycle, they go, boom, they're in your face, or they come by, boom, knock you off balance, and by the time you get up, they're gone with your phone, and you're wondering what the heck just happened to me. If you're not hurt and still laying on the ground, depending on how you fall. Because we all, I think, somehow retain a memory of how we fell and bounced up as kids, but as adults, you ain't bouncing back up, pal. It doesn't happen that quickly anymore.
No, you fall down and then you're like, what the hell happened? Wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I'm on the ground. Okay. Then you figure out, okay, I fell down. I'm on the ground. I'm not dead. All right. So now I'm going to get up. So let's go through this process.
Yep. You got to do your fingers, knees, and toes. All right. We got to check everything. Everything working? All right, cool. Now we get up.
Oh, that ain't like the backwards kip thing, like right back to a fighting stance and like
yeah. You're not imp, man. You know, bam, boom. I'm back up. I'm down. I'm up. Nah, not happening. It's like a down. Oh shit, I'm down. Well, I guess I got to get back up. These guys are having fun with the lines from freaking Pulp Fiction in the comment section. It's hilarious.
I wanted to go back to Woods. I think I have this thing on the screen there. It says his first job was at a gas station. So I'm just curious because pretty much everybody I know worked at a gas station, even some of the girls. And I don't know why. I think it was just because it was an easy job. You didn't expect much from the night shift. You just had to be there so we could study. We could do ours because most of us were in high school when we had those jobs. But I know a lot of people. Like I say, I'm trying to think now how many of us. And we also lived in a place where I don't think any of us worked at the same gas station. I think I worked at the same gas station as a friend of mine, but everybody else worked at different ones. And then I even worked in one in college because, again, it's an easy job. There's nothing to really do except I was handing out cigarettes constantly. But nowadays they have like grocery stores in them and stuff. I worked in the kind that had just gas and the cigarettes, nothing, no drinks or anything.
Hey, mister, Grandma sent me to pick up a pack of Marlboro Reds.
There was actually still some of that back then. But the thing is, the parents would, whenever I'd say no. And then the next day or hour later or whatever it would be, the parent would show up with the kid and go, I'm sending my kid over and it's okay. And then I'd be like, all right, I don't care. I think you told me it's all okay. Right. So it's fine. I mean, I did it. I did it all the time because it was, again, we didn't care about it. It was something like, I think most kids back in the day would have smoked a cig. If your parents smoked, you smoked a cigarette and was like, okay, I don't understand why they do that. That's gross. So it's not like you ever
that sucks
reason to smoke a cigarette. But we would go to the store all the time because somebody would be like, I'm out of cigarettes. You'd be like, I'll go get them because you get a Slurpee. You get a free Slurpee.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're running to the store to get cigarettes anytime you could. So I'll bet you some
Hey,
of those kids back in the 70s and shit, I'll bet you some of those attendants saw kids coming in like 3-4 times a day, like on a Sunday when a bunch of kids, a picnic or something's going on. There's probably kids running back and forth to the 7-Eleven all night or all day.
Hey, go in there, give them $10 on pump number 3, and pick me up a 6-pack of Budweiser, and a pack of Newports. Okay, 10-year-old me. Boom,
Yeah, well,
6-pack.
If your parents sitting in the car, then it's no big deal.
Yeah.
The gopher.
But dude, can you imagine today? It's like kid walks in, grabs a 6-pack, walks up to the counter, like a pack of Newports, and here's money on pump number 3. Yeah, hell no, sir. Get your damn kid. Yeah. It's just funny because guess what? It was part of growing up, and there wasn't a whole plethora of us because the kids today get the same damn stuff going on. Oh, great. You get carded. Hey, mister, I'll give you freaking $20 if you buy us alcohol.
No, I bet you the scam now is to have Walmart deliver it to your house, dude. Just, you're on your parents' account anyway, so you just add alcohol to it. And
yeah, right.
I bet you it's something like
I
that.
wonder.
Or some parent doesn't pay attention. And yeah, I bet you it's some automatic delivery. I know Walgreens delivers because if I was 31 years old, like 21 to 31 or something like that, I could do a thing with Walgreens. So I know they deliver alcohol.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
At least out here. Maybe it's in different places.
So
some places are dry and shit too, so I'm sure the laws are different.
Well, I was in a conversation with Shooting News Magazine or some crap like that. They did I just want to bring this up. Anybody know they ever mess with the new FN high power, the new one, the HIGH power, not the Browning high power from 1935, but that new piece of shit they put out and tried to act like it was something new in 2022. Because I'm watching this Shooting News. I think that's the name of them.
It's like a YouTube channel or it's a separate thing?
It's a YouTube channel. Yeah, it's a YouTube channel. And they're like, oh, it's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this thing doesn't have a track record, guy. What are you talking about? Shooting News Weekly. I was like, because I was there when they debuted it in 2022, and I actually interviewed over at the FN booth, and I'm talking to the guy, and he's telling me, yeah, this is new. It has no interchangeable parts with the Browning high power. I'm like, so you came up with a whole new gun. It doesn't have a pick rail, doesn't have optics cuts in 2022, and you're trying to sell it for like $1,200. A metal hammer-fired pistol from FN that's called the high power, HIGH power. It has nothing to do with the other one except it's made by the same company, and your marketing team gave it the same name. But in essence, it would only be cutting edge in 1975 when the CZ75 came out with the exact same features and look. I'm like, yeah, no, there's nothing spectacular about this. I mean, congratulations on coming out with a new gun, but you did absolutely nothing. You stopped making the Browning high power, a classic from 1935 that you've been making through an entire world war. You stopped making that and started making this new pistol with the same, not even the same name because you spelled it differently. And
it's
these
just
guys are
annoying
like,
that they would do that anyway. Like step on the original, step on it in such a way, and then not even in any way pay homage to it at all. Like call it something else at least.
Yeah, call it something else. It's not the same firearm. And I'm looking at it, right? And I'm like, you guys stopped making the Browning high power at the same time Gerson started importing it into the country, and Springfield Armory created their own. And here is FN going, yeah, these things really just don't sell. And there's two new companies going, hey, there's an open market for freaking high powers. Let's make them. Now, what do you call it? SA, Springfield Armory. They made just one version, right? That looks like the classic. uh, Gerson went all in. They were like, all right, here's one that looks like the classic. Here's one with a Picatinny rail and optics cut. Here's one that's cut down. There's an Argentinian event, one they would call the detective, that had like a shorter barrel and a shorter grip. Like they went all in. Here's one called the Ops with the lightweight. We got a pick rail. We have an optics cut. We have the shorter barrel, and we have what do you call it? Alloy body. So it's just a lightweight 9mm pistol, but it is a high power. That's what they did. And FN went, yeah, these things just don't move. I'm like, yeah, FN, I think, stopped being a pistol company in 1935. Like after they started making other things, they give short rift to their own handguns. I mean, FN 509 didn't make it through the military. I think it was in the military trials, but they're selling machine guns, dude. They're selling rifles and machine guns to the military. I don't think they care about handguns, or at least that's not how they market it. You got to look at them, and you're like, you do make handguns. People would buy them if they knew you made them.
Yeah. There was a time when, I don't know how I'm just coming up with this, but as you're saying that, I'm thinking about it. I think there was a time when we were used to buying guns because of we seen them in a magazine, I guess, or a movie, and maybe because we were shooting in competition or something, a little bit of hunting. But I think we were just buying guns because there wasn't. I guess I'm saying there wasn't as much to do with them, and when we bought them, we were just holding on to them. But nowadays, I think there's more to do with them because there's just more kind of sports and activities but there's also the social, and I think there's an aspect of like, some people buy multiples of things because they want to share them or they want to experience the short one, the tactical one, the whatever, the stock one. And then they share them and stuff. So there's like this extra reason to go out and buy more stuff. So I don't know. I'm wondering if I know we buy stuff differently now, but I'm wondering if we didn't just have more of a eclectic taste back in the day, because nowadays it seems like the taste is definitely more, if it ain't CCW, it ain't for me. Like it has to be super CCW, and then you pick your flavor, like this or that, slim or high power or grip angle or whatever your things are. You know what I mean? Like you take those paths, but it's pretty much all concealed carry these days. And when you're talking about is guns that even go to like the collector and just owning a gun that has a different mechanism for the sake of owning a gun that has a different mechanism. And I just don't think we have gun owners there yet. I hope that gun owners get there after they buy a few guns and they go, oh, I'm allowed to buy a third gun just because I want it. And now I want to buy a fourth gun. And then we see those guns sell. You know what I mean? But I think right now people are like, I need to buy the best gun ever. Oh shit, I bought an adjacent gun. I need to buy the best gun ever. I'm buying this one now. And then it's like, no, I bought the best gun for at that time, but now I need this best gun ever. But they're always trying to buy the best gun ever still. I don't see very many at least I don't see very many conversations about people that are like, that gun was just cool, so I bought it. And I hang out with those kind of people. You know what I mean? Like it's just, I don't think they're just.
I don't know, dude. I mean, because I'm with new people every 2 weeks, and the thought process is all across the board.
Yeah.
With because I try to have conversations like, what brings you in? What are you looking at? What are you thinking about? And mainly because I want to see what the new people are doing, and it's all over the board. I'm getting it for personal protection. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting it for personal protection. Because I'm getting a Beretta because I grew up watching it in the 90s. You know what I mean? And I just want a Beretta 92. Okay, cool. I want to get it because of video games or movies. All right, cool. I want something that I can carry, but I'll can run it because I plan on doing tactical classes because that looks like something I want to get into. So I think we have a lot more options now, like you said, because back in the day it was Smith & Wesson or Colt. Really, up until, people go, oh, in 1982 Glock. Man, look, 1982 Glock came out. Nobody gave a shit. It was like, if it even hit anybody's radar, it was only people that read gun magazines for the first 5-6 years. They didn't really show up in stores and start populating like people think. That was just a gun from Austria, of all places. What the heck do Austria make? It's like, good day, mate. It's made in Austria? No, that's Australia, you idiot. Austria, next to Germany. Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Um, those were actual conversations, right? So my whole thing is we only had a very few options, so that's what you bought. You bought a Smith and Wesson, you bought a Colt, you bought a 1911. If you bought a Smith and Wesson semi-auto, it was one of the numbered guns, and I knew very few people that owned them. You were really into guns if you bought a Smith and Wesson semi-auto. Um, and then other things start dropping. You got the SIGs, you got the Berettas, you got the Glocks. Like I think that was late '80s, early '90s when that started happening in the civilian world at a larger number. But now we have Glock clones, we have clones of the Berettas, we have clones of the High Point, we got clones of the 1911, and then we have everything else. So I think it's more diverse now. Plus, we also have YouTube, which it's like gives every dude perspective. All I need is my telephone and an account, and I'm talking about my gun.
Yep, and
So
some time you can research whatever gun in whatever direction. You don't have to be restricted to what your gun shop has available for you to handle.
yeah, you and I were sitting at the gun shop. If they didn't give it to us, we try to steal the catalog in the gun shop to take home and thumb through it. Like just go through it until the pages wore out. I know I did. My mom was forever throwing that stuff away after 6 months and no covers on it and all the staples starting to come out. But it's changed. And now we're in this era of firearms ownership, and I'm all for it. I mean, let's roll it back to what we do, though. I just wish more and more of these people would actually become activists, and that's why I do what I do. It's a diversity shoot to try to cut down on that time frame. When you're interested in guns, when you're touching a gun for the first time, and when you're understanding that your rights are under attack and you need to fight for them. Like I'm trying to get that. I'm trying to get you to join a Second Amendment group before your paperwork clears to get your first gun in New Jersey. I want you in the fight, and that's the difference between now and then. Then being, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah, very little perceived threat. The threat was to assault rifles, pretty much. Sometimes handguns if you were in California, because it was kind of the beginning of the big push. So there was just not as much concern. And it was like more of like, oh, this is a hunting gun shop or gun range, or this is a competition gun shop or gun range. That was about, maybe you'd walk into the wrong place. In other words, like everything in here is shotguns. Yeah, like because we're all about hunting birds here. But if you're looking for pistols, you want to go to the, shop on the other side of town because that's what they carry. There wasn't that many big gun shops back in the day, so like a shop would kind of specialize sometimes. And then there were shops.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine having like a 20-something guy, or even let's say a 40-year-old gun guy back in 1975 goes in there. He thinks he's a gun guy. You know what I mean? Like he heard about the AR-15 from Colt and wants to go buy one, and he's trying to buy one in 1975. I guess you can order one because there dang sure weren't going to be any hanging on the walls in any gun store he walked into.
No.
There wasn't going to be one. There wasn't going to be an AK. There might be some Mosins in a bucket over in a corner, but they're not going to be any AKs. They're not going to be any ARs. The Mini 14 might be on the cover of the Guns and Ammo magazine, but it definitely ain't going to be in the store. But at least because it's a Ruger, these guys have heard of it. Now you take that guy and you put him in the time machine and have him step out into hell. Cabela's at this point, he went to tactical heaven. Like, what the hell?
Sure. And that's is that somebody coming out of some other countries? I mean, there's countries that are ahead of us in guns, but I bet you that's like some people coming from other countries are like, oh shit, I'll take anything you got here.
It's like, I am so happy. So I was talking to one of the guys, Indian dude, came here. He was at my last diversity shoot. And he was talking about his first gun. So I'm like, all right, cool. Which he said, I only have one handgun. That's my first gun. And I said, well, what's your first gun? Sig P226 Legion. I was like, well, there you go, buddy. If you're gonna get your first gun, make that some gun $1,700. Yeah, he had a P226 Legion, Sig Legion. I forgot. Maybe it even had maybe the X5. I don't know, but he dropped hella money on it, and that was his first firearm. And now his wife wants one because they came in from India. They got their permission, got all the paperwork done here in Jersey. And he came to my event just to see what was up. Like what can I get? Australian firearms? I don't know. Owen's gun,
Now
best
that I've got
Australian
this
firearm.
on the thing, what's the one you just said?
What P226 Legion? Sig P226 Legion.
Okay, I thought it was going to be one of those engraved ones.
No, it might have been just the lead, just a regular Legion, or it might have been the X5 Legion. I don't know which one it was.
But yeah, as far as
So
somebody
that,
asked about what Australian guns there are, and
yeah.
Aldo is saying these two. So this one is the one. Looks kind of like Daewoo a little bit, Air 180 ish,
Mm.
and then this one is more like a chassis for a bolt gun.
Well, they do make their own version of Steyr AUG there too.
I was gonna say, don't they use the Steyr
Lithgow.
in there?
Yeah, Lithgow. I think the name of the company's Lithgow. And that's a solid friggin' firearm. I don't know if they do civilian sales there anymore. Because I know they were trying to push legislation that called lever actions in Australia assault weapons. I still remember seeing that news clip. Like, yeah, assault weapons from the mid 1870s. You losers. Yeah, Lithgow. Well, Australia is really a small population, so when it comes to making firearms for that, and you don't have a large firearms culture compared to America. I mean, again, you're in America in the freaking 60s and 70s.
Well, it's cool to make guns here. Like people, I mean, it's like it's okay. It's like authorized, and there's a reason to do it. People will buy them, right? There's a history and blah blah blah. So there's like an incentive, I guess you
Mm,
could say, to build a gun here. But there's also machinists here, right? Like we have
mm,
massive industry. I just don't know. I mean, I'm concerned for one because Australia is populated by criminals, and I'm assuming the children of criminals. But were they allowed to have tools? Like, do they have machinists and machinery, that kind of stuff there? Because you can want guns all you
Oh,
want, you know what I mean? You have to be able to make them.
well, well, they have a problem over there right now because after their stupid bans, what they're getting is a whole bunch of stuff shipped in illegally. So their violent crime and gun crimes, as they want to call it, what a stupid freaking reference. Their gun crimes have gone up since they started pushing for more gun control. Because, of course, criminals are using guns and civilians have turned them in. So you got more robberies happening because there's very little chance. Oh, and also the fact that they prosecute you if you use a gun to protect yourself and your family. I still remember the one case because the guy had his gun already loaded and together. The guys were trying to burn his house down. The bad guys were trying to burn his house down. And he grabbed his gun and went outside and shot one of them. I, I know they're trying to burn his house. I think they might have had fire. Whatever. The prosecution came back and said he didn't have time to get his gun, if it was stored legally, loaded and get to the front door in the time he had. So that means he was breaking the law and didn't have his firearm stored like they were supposed to, and they charged him for it. It should have taken you longer. Your house should have been well on fire, sir. So you broke the law because, yeah, and it didn't make any difference. What they were saying was really, really stupid. because it's not stupid to them. You know, your house should have just burned the frick down. You should have been fighting your way through flames to shoot at the people that let your house on fire and tried to kill you.
Do you listen to Ironclad anymore? The
I
podcast.
have only listened to a couple of them. I still have them on my thing because I get, notifications when they have a new thing.
I was doing some stuff the other day that was super boring, so I was listening to a bunch of podcasts while I was doing it, and there was one over there that's fairly recent. It's with the one guy who's SEAL in CIA. I can't remember his name, and his sponsor is the Hot Salt. So I forget what his name is. It's that guy, and then his guests were two guys, and one guy was from like Australia, and the other guy was from the U.S., and they were both some of the first YouTubers, or maybe even the first YouTubers in China, just vloggers, I guess you could say. Like independently, they eventually met up and started hanging out, but originally they were both just people in China that were using YouTube to like tell their parents like, hey, here's me, or like, just playing when it was a baby. And then as YouTube grew, they grew their channels and they started making money. And then they eventually got together, and then they were trying to, like, without being sanctioned by China, they were being ambassadors to China effectively because China was cool and stuff. And at least the way they explain it, like China was pretty cool and it was fun to explore it. And they would go to the places that the, whatever you'd say, like the propaganda bureau wasn't cool with. So they weren't necessarily like the fans of the Chinese government, but then it got worse. And then they were basically chased out of the country. So they can't go back anymore, because the government changed, right? And they're saying the government changed with whoever the guy is, changed.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, the guy who's the boss. Whenever before, I guess they had these communist rules, and they just existed, and cops would be like, yeah. I could enforce the communist rules on you, but I'm not gonna, because it's a pain in the ass, and there's nobody really has any enthusiasm for it. But I guess when this Z or she or whoever came in, he started being a dick about it and started making them enforce all these rules. So anyway, I'm bringing this up because it's an interesting podcast for sure to listen to. It gives you some really good insight on the mindset of China, and also then like the ability of China, because there's a lot of differing opinion when you talk to the so-called quote unquote experts about China on how, like, everybody kind of knows that China's like one guy runs China for the most part, and he's in it for the long run because he's not going anywhere. So he's running China like somebody would run their own business, for a lifetime. Unlike most countries are doing it for each political cycle. Ours are 4 years or whatever. So we all know that dynamic. But then there's always stuff to learn, I guess. And I learned a lot from this, and it was just what you were talking about. And he said basically the police have no interest at all, no obligation for sure, but no interest at all in like stopping two people from fighting each other or stabbing each other. So like you could be in a bar fight, spills out into the street, there's two cops sitting there, and you're stabbing the one guy. But if you start stabbing the one guy and say, I think that Xi shouldn't be in power, they'll arrest you for saying Xi shouldn't be in power. You'll go to jail, you'll get killed. Like, there's like absolute enforcement of the law, but it's like all these stupid political laws, and so the cops will be there, but they're not there the same way our cops are. And I just, the way you were explaining that, it made me think of that in other countries we think of cops, police being there for us or whatever, but they're really not. But in the other countries, they're definitely not. They're there for the political, whatever you want to call it, like the whatever you call that, the politic or the state, essentially.
The state.
And,
they're there for the state. So's ours.
And it's not like they give a shit. It's just that that's what they're employed for. So, they know that there's not, they're not going to get backed up by their job if they stop somebody stabbing somebody. And how do they know anything about who's stabbing? Somebody starts stabbing somebody. How do you know really who's the good guy or whatever there? Maybe the guy getting stabbed needed to get stabbed, right? So police aren't like, they just like anywhere. They know they don't know everything. So why would they get involved if they're not any incentive to? So once you realize that the police are just going to stand there and watch you stab somebody, you know what I mean? Like, that's a different world than we live in, where if you did that here, even no matter what you think of police being corrupt or blah, 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 you stab somebody in front of the police, somebody's going to jail right then. Like, they're going to end the stabbing and probably, but either might be guys shooting you or karate chopping you, but you know what I mean? Like it's just a different world.
There will be some concern shown.
Yes.
Yeah, so I love it because I fall down rabbit holes. And I was looking for customization on certain firearms just for the heck of it. Like I have the P07 that I still have to do the paperwork for. And I was wondering because I got it at such a low price, it was like maybe that should be something I figure out, what I want done on it and actually get a custom gun because I'm starting off, I think I got it for 250. And I'm like, that's a great price to get that for. And that was like 5 years ago. I'm like, maybe I could do that. Anyway, I ran across this guy called KGB Customs LLC. That's his channel. And not only does he do custom gun work, but he has a shop and he sells custom guns from other people. They come through, uh, people bring in the custom guns because he's that kind of dude that he's in the market of selling custom guns. So he decided just to create the channel and have custom firearms makers. Well, and we're talking like 1936, revolvers custom from these guys back in that day, like King's Custom built stuff. I think it's a pretty cool channel for gun nerds
Oh,
like
that's pretty
us
neat.
that you can see, like, what a custom pistol looked like in 1936 or a custom revolver looked like in 1936.
That's the
It's
kind of
pretty
shit
cool
that,
stuff.
like, when you're talking about the magazines back in the day, like, you'd pick up, like, some old magazine every once in a while,
Hmm.
like an old magazine at the used bookstore, and it'd be like that, like, in the 1930s, there were still gun magazines, and that's the kind of shit
Hmm.
that was cutting edge back then. Like, oh, let's cut the front of your trigger guard off. You ever think of that? And everybody, oh, my goodness. Lots of
Yep.
controversy on it.
This is a DW King Super Target Custom Officers Model Heavy Barrel 38 Special. And this is like from the 30s because it has the exposed, what do you call that? Ejector rod. Like it doesn't even have a housing around it at all. It's just out there, baby. That's the early Colts. Did I tell you that about that? I was at, I was doing the Union Hill Gun Club
Mm-hmm.
diversity shoot, and they had a 38 Bankers Special Colt revolver. And oh, what a 38 Special revolver? No, 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 a 38 Banker Special. It was in 38 Smith and Wesson, and it was a Banker Special, and they only made like a few of them to the point that going rate for one of these things, it says a Colt Detector Special. Um, Actually, they predate it or came out like a couple of years after it. Very rare pistol, very rare revolver.
I think
Seventeen
we
to
talked about
eighteen
it last
hundred
week.
dollars.
So we were looking at the little barrel.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So I got. So I have the video I took of that. I'm making a reel of it, and I'm trying to find music to go with it. Right. This is some crazy stuff. So all of a sudden, I hear this song by 50 Cent, Many Men. You heard about this, right? Because Joe Rogan was talking about it. So I don't know if the guys in the audience have heard it.
No.
Many Men by 50 Cent, but redone by AI to sound like 50s or 60s soul music.
Oh, okay.
Bro, this thing is awesome. Just type it in YouTube and pull up Mini Man. It sounds like an Al Green, like deep down soul, whatever, and it works with the stupid lyrics, and it works with that pistol because of the time frame. And they don't have it on friggin' IG, so I'm gonna record it and put it out. It'll probably be blocked immediately, but I thought it was really cool because it's that's the gun people carried up until probably the early 2000s for most people. A 38, a small snub nose 38 was a carry gun big time. Like we love to think everybody had, yeah, they had 38 revolvers or something they had in the 70s, but by the time the 80s come, everybody had a semi-auto. Nah, nah, we're well into the 2000s before people started getting the semi-auto because really they didn't work that well. Small semi-automatics didn't really work that well outside of 25s and maybe a 32. Like there's a reason the Walter PPK or PPS or whatever you want to call it was still around. It was like because it's one of the few that worked, but it was heavy and it was expensive. And then when Enter, what was the name of the company?
Intertech?
Is it Intertech? One of the companies took over and they bought it and they were making it and it was kind of crappily made. And then Smith got in on it for a little while and you could actually buy a Walter through Smith.
Oh no, I don't know. I thought you were talking about something else. I was listening to this. Hold on. Is that coming through?
Yep, it's coming through.
It does sound pretty like a soul music from back in the day or something.
It sounds really good. Like it would obviously sound better, more soulful if it was like a real, because
Somebody singing into a microphone.
Yeah, but it sounds close enough. I actually heard it in somebody's video, and I was like, I want to hear more music like this. It put me on a freaking soul music kick. So I'm listening to like Al Green, Dave and Sam and Dave. I'm listening to all kinds of stuff now. I'm like, holy crap, that just put me on because that
on my
music.
Sirius or whatever, you can run Sirius radio like Pandora used to be, or I don't know if they still have Pandora. But so you would tell it like this artist, and then it'll start playing stuff that it thinks are like this artist, and then you can go yes or no. Like I like this, I don't like this, and kind of whatever, teach it to the kind of stuff you want. So I start with James Brown, and then that gets you to all kinds of good stuff. You just get rid of some of the newer stuff, and then anyway, that ends up being kind of a Pandora channel that. Anyway, that sounds kind of like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, one of the guys talking about the PPK. Yeah, the PPK or the Walter, whatever you want to call it, that thing chews my hand like an angry dog. Like just the slide bite, the web of my hand, from the hammer, from the slide, everything. It's just an evil damn gun for me to use. It makes me bleed every single time. Hate that thing almost as much as I hate the original 1911. My friend Eric had that. So of course I shoot all these guns, or shoot some of the guns that Diversity shoots if we have a chance. I'd rather a new shooter shoot, before I get in there. But sometimes I slide in, I'm able to pull triggers on stuff, and it is really like the Walther PPK and the original GI 1911 are two guns that will make my hand bleed because my hand is big and I get the hammer bite or the slide bite, and it just makes me hate life. To me, those guns aren't great.
It's not what you can do either, because they're definitely made for like an amount of meat on your hand, and anybody with a bigger hand than that is about to get some, you can't really like hold it and eat it on there.
Yeah, dude, I mean, that bleeding. It's not even cool. So my friend Eric had one. He was like, "Hey, I got the gun 1911." So of course Eric works at a gun store, and we were there, and he laid out. I love the guy, but man, he goes overboard every time we go to a gun range. He's like, "Yeah, man, let's go shoot some guns." Cool. He comes out with 2 cases. Like he goes to the range with a dozen guns easily, anytime. So he pulls out his firearms, and I'm like, all right, cool. We have the new, American-made SIG P210. Nice. We have the Dan Wesson DWX. All right, cool. We have the new CZ carry, the little one. So I'm like, all right, cool. Smith and Wesson. He has the Smith and Wesson. What do you call that? E1911 or SW 1911. And then he had the one more freaking Ronin from Springfield Armory. And then he pulls out the 1911 from like 1941, 42. He's like, you got to try this. I'm like, I hate that guy. He's like, why? I was like, I carried that gun for 2 freaking years. And anytime I took it to the range and shot it, it was guaranteed my hand was going to bleed when I left. 2 rounds out of it. I was like, yep, hated just as much now as I did then. Dropped the mag, racked it out. There you go, bro. I shot everything else he had. And that thing, I'm like, it's horrific. I don't want it. Get away from me. To me, the original 1911 sucks. Now, and then truthfully, in my mind, it only sucks because of the hammer bite. If I had something with a beaver tail, I like shooting 1911 with a beaver tail. The triggers are great. Modern sights are even better than the old school bump sight because that thing, I swear to God, I think it said, I think the front sight was like FU in Braille. I mean, that's how small it is. It's just a little tiny front sight on a 1911, but that's the way all sights were. I like the T-Sauce. T-Sauce line of guns of 1911s are really well done. Just a regular, like just an iteration of 1911. They put like higher sights on it. So they kept it kind of GI with a beaver tail, or they put the commander hammer on it and just gave it slightly taller sights. And I'm like, that's good. I think they call it the special of special service or something like that. And the price is like $400 or $500. And to me, that's a win if somebody just wants to check a box for a modern 1911 that they don't have to pay Colt prices on because, truthfully, unless you're collecting, there's no real reason for you to pay Colt money because Colt 1911s, new ones, are not the Colt 1911s of yesteryear. Their quality control is off and they feel like inexpensive guns that you paid too much for. And that sucks because it's freaking Colt. Being what they are, I want to love them, but it's like you've allowed your quality control to slip and you've been riding on your name so long that you don't know how to stop. They just don't. I mean, to the point CZ had to buy them for them to still be in business. The Colt might be a better resale value, but I'm not, I mean, better in what way? It'll, like if you're buying the guns to resell them to make money, you're in the wrong business. That's a horrible way to speculate. If you want to buy a gun and shoot it and then know you're going to sell it, then yeah, I kind of understand why you'd buy a Colt 1911 because you know you're going to get rid of it later on and you're just going through it like pew, 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 maybe 1,000 rounds over the next 2 years. And then you're going to sell it because you want to buy something else. Then yeah, buying the Colt makes more sense. But if you want to get a solid 1911 that you're just going to keep and run around through it, and you don't care, these are, according to almost everybody who shot the two or owns 1911s and shoots Colts and T-Sauce, the T-Sauce is better built, has no mem parts, and to the point that what do you call them? What's the name of the company? Civilian
CMP.
So yeah, CMP, Civilian Marksmanship Program, has signed with TSOS to produce 1911s for Civilian Marksmanship Program to take the place of the 1911s that they used to sell that were surplus Colts. That's how good they are. So there would be no reason. Again, TSOS have replaced Colts as the guns with CMP. This is the American government Civilian Marksmanship Program is selling TSOS now. And not Colts. Colt fell apart a long time ago. I mean, truth be told, Colt started falling apart after after Samuel Colt died. His wife took over. She was going to hold it for the son. The son got killed, and they sold Colt. And Colt's been Colt's been pulling the Forrest Gump for a real long time. It's like they stumbled into the 1911. The World War I kicked off. and it was their turn. They stumbled into the Browning. Well, they had the Brown with the BAR, but they produced their own version called the Monitor. They were able to hang on between world wars. World War II came, they were able to hang on. Vietnam came, they were able to hang on. But then they lost the M16 AR-15, excuse me, not M16, M16A2 or the M4 contract. And they've been just dying slowly. They just make bad decisions. They don't innovate. I got into this argument with Hunter, was it Hunter Ellis from Range Hot? He and I were on the Live My Wire Media podcast. And I was like, Colt doesn't innovate for anything. And the last New Guns Colt came out where it sucked. The Colt All American or the Colt 2000. They were horrible guns. And the Colt Double Eagle. They were horrible handguns. You can pull those nightmares up. They didn't sell well. Colt sells revolvers and 1911s. No new design. Oh, we redesigned the Python. Yeah. So congratulations. That's not innovative. It didn't even make it a 7-shot. At least Smith & Wesson has a 686 plus.
I don't know if you're ranting or if we're going to cut you off, so I'm going to jump over to this poll.
Go ahead, man.
Let's see. So I started a poll just 4 hours ago. We've got a bunch of votes already. But it's a question that kind of pertains to what we're talking about today. What kind of training do you think is most valuable today in 2025? So we've got the options of defensive handgun, long rifle or long range rifle, force on force, or medical trauma. And
What did you say? What was the question?
Which is the best type of training? Which type of training do you think is the most valuable today in 2025? And I think
that's easy
right now. Defensive is winning to 47%. Trauma medical is at 30%. Force on force is at 23%. 0 votes for long range, and I can understand that. I think there's good. I was going to say there's probably good arguments for each of these three that have some votes. But what do you think?
Well, medical is always more important. You'll drive past more accidents, workplace accidents, any other thing than you'll ever get into a handgun fight or force on force scenario. You'll have medical come in handy, medical training.
I think there's something to be said for you can figure out a fight. Like you won't be good at it, whatever. You'll but instinctively, you block things swinging at your face. Like if somebody's shooting at you, you're gonna run away. Like you don't have to be taught some instinctual shit. Medical, it's you'll definitely get into the panic especially if somebody you care about is hurt with any kind of bleed or severe break or something that really is going to get you going and you have no idea of what to do. That's a bad position to be in. You know what I mean? Like that's not, you don't have the instincts to you don't just learn out of nowhere what to do for a bad break, what to do for a hand that looks really gross, what to do if they're not breathing, right? But with just a little bit of medical training, you don't have to become an expert. You just have to know what you don't know. So what you definitely need a doctor there for as fast as possible, what you can probably quickly fiddle with, and then everything in between, which isn't much. So
the three things, man. Yeah, start the breathing, stop the bleeding, treat for shock, get medical attention on the way. And if you know how to do those, you're good. And there's not a lot, but medical training is very important. In this scenario, medical training is even more important because you can watch a video on how to apply a tourniquet. You can watch a video on how to pack a wound, but getting trained to do it and doing it either on that fake arm or doing it in a piece of, polymer. That's another thing they have over there at WAFT in Orlando is I had medical training and I think her name was Nancy. She was the nurse practitioner that did it. And they were like, all right, go. And they started pumping blood through the thing. And she started screaming like it was the person wounded. And as you started packing the wound, she started screaming even louder because it's like, yeah, you're shoving your fingers into someone's open wound trying to pack it. You think they're not going to be screaming? You think it's not going to hurt more than they thought before? She was like, so that's the important part of medical training. Knowing yes, then I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this, doesn't take into account that person screaming bloody murder or other people in the room panicking. So, yeah, getting medical training is very important. And I understand this is a gun podcast and everybody loves the gun stuff. Shit, I love the gun stuff. But that medical training, I've been at the range, had nothing to do with me. We were actually teaching a class inside the range. We were doing scenario training with fake guns. Somebody got shot. They sent a round through their hand, and another time someone sent a round along the side of their leg at the range. So these things can happen, and you want to be an asset. And to be a gun guy, with your firearm on you, with your knife on you, with your flashlight, with your extra mag, with your truck gun, with your get home bag, and still not know how to actually just stop bleeding. It's like you're missing a very important step in that whole self-sufficiency checklist. So yeah, before you buy your 75th gun, take a medical class.
That's interesting. That might be a good article because you're going to buy a gun, you're going to buy a second gun maybe, and then whatever, third, fourth gun. At some point, you're going to go, well, I should buy a safe for these guns because I don't think anybody goes, I'm going to buy a gun and a giant gun safe. Nobody does it.
Yeah.
You might get inherited a giant gun safe, but then there's probably guns in it. So I'm going to assume most people get a gun, they get a bull box or something, one of those like quick biometric, whatever jobbies that, everybody's marketing now. And then, whatever, right? And then they got their third or fourth gun, or they can't keep jamming them into that case no more. So now they got to figure out something. And I always used to have that conversation periodically when we'd have the live chats regularly to kind of just curious, because back then it was the conversations weren't like, I'm an adult buying my first and second gun. It was more like, we're adults and we all have these massive gun collections that we've had starting when, we were younger. And they're full of like a bunch of dumb guns that you really don't need to put in a case because nobody in the right mind is going to steal them. Like your black powder crap or like just some dumb gun that you have that's stupid, like a shotgun that's half broken or something. So, you know what I mean? Like some guns just don't need a storage thing. But then by the time you get like your third AR, you're like, yeah, I could see putting these in a box or something. Like, I don't want to just leave these around. If you have kids, of course, that's a whole different thing. But anyway, so I'm just wondering, like, I would always question, when do you decide, okay, I have enough money to buy another gun and I'm looking at what gun I'm going to buy, but I could spend that money on a safe. Because my thing was, at the time, we were selling Fort Knox at the shop all the time. So I knew how much better Fort Knox were than other safes. And I just knew that because I was selling them and I knew it. And most people don't. Most people look at it from the outside and they all look the same because the marketing is all the same, right? Or the marketing's not there to help you. Let's put it that way.
Well, you don't. Yeah, you don't understand what it means. You know what I'm saying? They're telling you have a safe with a dial.
They all make them weigh the same, and they all like look the same. It's just that some of them are basically stop signs, and some of them are really thick metal, and some of them are like solid metal, which you can't even afford. But the ones that are in the price range usually go from the hundreds to the thousands. So anyway, that's what I always wonder. Like, when do you go? You know what? I have 8 guns and they each cost me $500. So that's $4,000 in guns. Now I'm buying an $800 case to put them in. Like it just doesn't, the math doesn't math. You know what I mean? At some point you go, wow, I have $8,000 worth of guns. I'm going to spend $1,000 to make sure that nobody, any of the stuff that you buy safe for. So and I would ask people, because at some point you got to make that decision. And I would talk to people all day long who are buying Fort Knox safes who already made that decision. And with an AR costing about $1,000, it's not that big a deal because now it's like, 1, 2, 3, 4 ARs. Yeah, I'm buying a safe. Like, no brainer. Like, that's too much money laying around in my closet to not have it in a really strong metal box that's attached to my house, right? So, same thing with training. That's, I guess, where I was going to get to is where do you put training in there? 1, 2, 3 guns. Okay, where do you put training in there? You probably got some training if your state requires it, but if your state don't, then you didn't. And where do you
Mm-hmm.
decide I'm going to get some? And like I said, there's a lot of different training, and I just tried to pick 4 in here that were separate. It's not by any means inclusive of all the kind of trainings or anything, though. It's just 4 corners of a bigger shape or something. But yeah, I think that I agree with you. Although the defensive handgun is winning, and I can understand why,
Yeah.
because the point of owning the thing, if you don't know, you can know the laws. Well, first off, you got to know how to work the thing, like physically, like how the thing actually operates, and that is training. I don't care what anybody says. Like, you don't just magically know how a gun works, because literally all guns are different. Like, even models of the same freaking gun can be different sometimes. So, you know what I mean? Like, that is some training. Whether or not we do it quickly because we're so familiar with it, or not, somebody who's not, it's going to take some more time. But that is part of it. But then there's the laws. Like, what can you do? What are you legally allowed to do? What should I do? Right? Like, what's moral and what's legal? And then there's, how do you do it? Like, how do you draw this right? How do you bring this to a sight picture correctly? And that kind of thing. Like, the AI drew these, and it drew somebody holding this pistol goofy, in my opinion. But right, like, you've got a lot to defensive handgun stuff, and there's probably more to it than that. Like, you could get into whole classes on how do you do it around, like, kids, or office type of stuff, or if you work on a boat or something. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be specifics to whatever your circumstances are. Force on force, we already talked about, so I won't bother with that. In medical, we already talked about. But anyway, I can see why people would vote for, how do I use this dang thing that I just bought?
Mm-hmm. Always do. I mean, again, I'm talking to a room full of people, most likely that have all taken some kind of medical class, even if it's, like hunting, but it was part of that. So I get it. But yeah, I'm just glad I took some medical classes. It got me frustrated at work because they wouldn't offer it to civilians. So officers get medical training, but the civilian staff doesn't. And I'm like, we work in the same building. You think if an officer goes down, what me as a civilian can't help him or her, or would it help? Because it still takes time if something pops off and they have a medical emergency. It's still going to take time for them to get to us wherever we are in the prison. And I really tried to convince them, and the powers that be won't even do it. And I'm like, look, we don't need a special class. Matter of fact, don't even make it mandatory, make it voluntary, because mandatory freaking classes suck ass because you don't want to be there. Make it voluntary class. And I was like, you don't have to pay for a totally different class. Just push the chair in the same class that the officers have. You're not going to have hundreds of people volunteering. You might just have, 2 people in a class that are extra. And if you already have the material there, how is the cost extra? We all state workers. Nope. Okay, sorry.
Well, kind of along that line, the worst case scenario is that you do get a lot of turnout, and then you just have another class, and you have, like you said, like a lot of extra resource available if necessary for very little cost. But I'm
Well,
sure
they
there's
had
small budgets and shit.
it's just people that don't think like that, and more than likely,
Prisons don't
I
have a
hate to
lot of
be.
money.
Uh, anyway, so what I really think it is some of the people they're talking to would never think about helping someone, so they don't think anybody else would either. When you're sitting there flat-footed, look at them in the eye and go, "Yeah, we've got people that want to sign up for a free class." Because I got so frustrated with our PowerPoint on what do you call that, active shooter PowerPoint. And I was like, well, why don't we teach medical to the civilians here? Because until a place gets cleared by the police that has an active shooter situation, if you're wounded, the building has to be cleared first. You can bleed out and die. So I'm like, can we have a medical class where we can choose to pick this up? And I think the people that you're talking to, and I wasn't talking about the people I spoke to directly, but people further up the line just would never think about doing anything to help save anybody's life. And it's just foreign to them that it's like a waste of time. And then they just came up with every excuse to not do it. So I hosted my own, got an emergency room doctor, got with somebody that actually did active shooter stuff for law enforcement, and I put my class together myself. I thought it was that important. And we still got less than 10 people in it because, again, as your poll shows, it doesn't hold a lot of priority with people.
I think you probably have to have had something happen, maybe, for to sink in. You know what I mean? If you've never had an experience an emergency, I'm assuming. I'm not saying nobody can understand, but I'm thinking once you've dealt with an emergency. Well, I shouldn't say that because I'm sure there's people that probably block it out and never think about it. So yeah.
Well, it's timing. It's timing. Ow. Ow.
That was a crazy ass phone.
Yeah.
A phone that never gets phone calls.
That was loud.
Yeah, I didn't even know that had that ringer on it. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's timing. Like if I would have had it last week, hosted a class last week after not only the Charlie Kirk thing, but there was a school shooting in Colorado also. And it was post like by 2 weeks the shooting of the children's school. That probably would have got people into the active shooter / trauma medicine class I was taking. But there were no, because it's fresh in people's heads, it's a topic on the news, that might have gotten people involved. But the timing of that one, it didn't happen near when anything happened. And it was just a class you could take, and people were like, yeah, nah, I got to clean out the dryer lint.
Yeah, it's preventive maintenance. Nobody wants to do it because it's not necessary. You can do it next week. Like you could have done it last week. You can do it next week. Let's do it next week.
Yeah.
But you brought up now what you were just talking about, but then you also alluded to like this news the last couple of weeks. So that's where I wanted to bring up something. I can't remember where I seen it, but somebody was talking about the news the last couple of weeks, and it was either a meme or someone talking about the meme. But essentially, there's a meme out there that says something like, and this isn't necessarily new, but it applies again. But it says something to the effect of, and I can't remember because it's definitely a divisive meme. So it said something like liberals think of guns as violent because they would use them violently. And it was something to that effect, but I thought there was value in the heart of that or the core of that or whatever, because it's been around for a while. And it says something, there's another one that was not in a reaction to all the crazy hype of the last couple of weeks based on the assassination and all that. But it was something to like the effect of, and it would only come around every once in a while because there wasn't that much stuff for it to react to. But it would say something to the effect of, if only the people on the left think of guns as violent because they're the only ones who would use them violently. People on the right have guns all the time and they don't ever think about using them except for in defense. So they don't think of, except for recreation or defense. I don't know anybody that sits around thinking about using a gun. You know what I mean? Like we're shooting them all the time because we like shooting them or whatever, but not at stuff. I mean, maybe if you count hunting, I guess. But, hunters are talking as much about meat and the hunt and blah, 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 the boring other shit that they talk about. You know what I mean? Like the kill is like one little sliver of all the stuff they talk about. And I don't know any of them that emphasize that by any means at all. Right? So that concept that guns are thought of as evil weapons when the mindset of them is, why else would you use them? I think that gets blown over. I think there's I think there's an angle there. And again, not now when it's the tempers are hot and all that, but when everybody's just minding their business and everybody's calmed down again, to say more of like the angle of, hey, one of the reasons why you think that we're so cold-hearted and stuff is because we're looking at these things as tools, like our pants or like, the fry pan or something. Like we're thinking about like the pancakes we're making out of it. We're not worried about smashing somebody over the head with it. So if all you think of, know what I mean? Like somehow we can get across to them that like, we don't think of them this way as violent tools. And again, I don't think we're going to make any headway when we're all yelling at each other.
I think we look at it because there are people on the right that look at guns as something that are going to shoot somebody and kill somebody. And usually we either tell those people to shut the F up or there's something wrong with them, or we stop hanging with them. Like we divorce ourselves from those people in this community. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
there are
I
those
guess that's
people.
true. They must exist.
Shoot them and drag. Yeah, shoot them and drag it in the house and just that dumb stuff. And either we see it as a joke, that's funny. Nobody ever does that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Or wait a minute, Joe, you serious? Hell no, that's not what you do, you dumbass. Like we have those people. They're very few, but we have those people that we check. We check them. We monitor, not monitor them, but we go,
Yeah.
yeah, that's not what's wrong with you, dude.
Yeah, we have a
Now,
community. We police the community. Yeah, is that the way to say it?
yeah, the other side doesn't have that, and I'm not even calling them liberals because I mean I know many people that vote.
Yeah, I hated to say that too because
that
it was
are
kind of
firearms.
cringe, but it's what the memes would say. So I was trying
Yes,
to use
I
that.
get
But
it.
yeah, I hear you because
So
it could
let's
apply to both sides.
yeah. So let's just go with that because that's what everybody wants to buy into. But they don't have that community. A lot of these people have never freaking touched a gun, so to them, a firearm is this thing. And yeah, many of them, yeah, you only use them to shoot people in the face. You know, never grew up with a gun, never had a gun in the house, or they had a firearm around somebody that was like that first person that was really violent. It scared the crap out of them. And they think that's the way everybody with a firearm thinks. Like their crazy Uncle Earl, who drinks too much and hates everybody and just wants to use a firearm to freaking cause hate and discontent. So yeah, they don't have that community. They don't have those people that actually know what they're talking about. They go, no, nobody does that. Nobody thinks that. I had somebody say that to me, and I looked at her like her head was screwed on backwards. Well, after all, that's the only reason we have guns is to shoot people, right? And I looked at them, I'm like, hell no, it's not the only one. Matter of fact, that's the worst day of my life if I have to shoot somebody, even to defend myself. I don't want that to happen. I'm like, that's why I carry and I train because that person, if I have to use a firearm against them, we're trying to kill me or somebody I know or care about. Yeah, it's not a good day. And it's not going to end like you think. We've thought about all of that. And they just go, oh, you go shoot people. That's what you think about, right? No, we know what's happened after the shooting. We know what happens. We might not win the fight. Oh, we might find out we're in a fight as we're on the floor bleeding, wondering what happened. And now I have to draw my gun with my left hand because this psycho came running into the store swinging a machete and hit me in the right because I threw my right hand up to block my face. Like we know why we carry, and they don't. So to them, it's whatever the television told them. Oh, by the way, if you want to know about stuff like a best jump starter and the best whatever, Project Farm. Project Farm. He does those comparisons all
YouTube
the time.
channel where they compare everything.
Yeah, awesome channel where he compares everything. And it's like he compared freaking laundry soap one day, and I watched it. All 40 minutes of it.
Yikes.
It
No,
was
but that's
great.
pretty interesting. Because back in the day, I remember spending. I mean, I don't even think about like how much calculate, like if you calculated all the time spent watching. But there was a channel, I think. If there wasn't a channel, it was like one of the stations had it on for a long time, or maybe it was just a YouTube channel that I was watching. But anyway, the stuff where they'll show factories, like the making toothpicks, making frozen waffles, making
How it's made.
Yeah, I don't care what
How
it
it's
is.
made.
I like factories, man. So if there was that, I mean, I have to stop watching that because I'll just leave that run all the time. Yeah, that How It's Made show. There's a Canadian. Is that the Canadian one, or is I think
Yep, that's the Canadian one.
Okay,
that's the Canadian one.
And then you knew it was Canadian because it'd be like, oh, they're making pretzels. Nope, it would be Twist à la Furieuse or whatever from France. It's like, oh,
okay. Hey, where did they get that piece of pottery from? Le fleuve, le flif, la fluff. I'm like, yeah, okay. But I love that show.
Like that at some point. I want to play around with that kind of stuff. Oh, sorry, I talked to the mic. I want to start playing around with that a little bit on my gear channel a little bit, see how that works. I don't want to do it like like a big presentation, but more like, you know, just to do it, just to run a bunch of shit together and see what works or whatever. But anyway.
Yeah. Let me see
Hey,
you.
we're
Let me see
2 hours
you
and
in
40.
Cape.
I'm thinking we can almost do this in less than 3 hours, which would be a feat because we usually run 4.
Okay.
So we don't have to run it down this minute. But let's see. Plain Nut had said earlier, and I have it up on the screen here, I took a Stop the Bleed once and it felt like a rush job. When I did the 16-hour wilderness first aid class, we practiced more with the tourniquet than in Stop the Bleed. Well, all right. So 16 hours. I think Stop the Bleed is literally like an hour, right? Or it's like 20 minutes or something. It's a very fast thing. I didn't like
Yeah,
Stop
I
the Bleed because it's anti-gun. Like it implies a bunch of shit about gunshots that I think are lame, that don't need to be in there. But that being said, it's really for like anybody who just has slight interest in understanding how a mammal bleeds out to stop that from happening. So I think it's for what it is, it's fine. But if you took a 16-hour wilderness first aid class, I mean, I wish there was a way I could like incentivize people doing that because of all the stuff I've ever taken. And I've done EMT and other stuff, then the 16-hour wilderness stuff would be amazing because that's normal first aid stuff, but then the cool stuff or the necessary stuff, I guess I could say, from being a paramedic or an EMT in a regular class, because everything's sort of like based on how far away you are from a hospital. So it's not that you're like not competent to learn more first aid. It's just there's no need to teach people this much first aid because there's always a hospital within a few blocks of you, mostly, or like, you know, minutes of you with an ambulance. So when you talk wilderness, they just give you so much more cool or like interesting actual first aid stuff because you're probably going to have to walk out or be there for a long time waiting for a helicopter or something. And yeah, those kind of make you so sufficient that I can't recommend them enough. Even if you never think you're going to go on a hike or go hunting or anything like that, having that, like if you ever get stuck in a building, having a 16-hour wilderness first aid class would be leaps and bounds ahead of anything else you could take, I think.
And I really think when you take a actual medical course, like class, that you discover how much you don't know, and you kind of want to take more. Because every class I took, regardless, it felt rushed. Even the class I hosted, I'm like, I want to know more. Like, I want to know what to do in case of this. What to do in case of this. I want to put another bandage on. I want to immobilize a leg. You know what I mean? I want to do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want the first time to do it as I'm trying to figure it out.
I grew up playing in ambulances and then, you know, doing an EMT and stuff. You're going to be in an ambulance or just playing around doing, you know, seeing stuff. So for me, it was always like, I want to know what this is for. Like, why is this in here? What is this for? What does this do? Because there's so many ways to learn it. You could start with like the hair and the eyes and the scalp and the nose and the ears. You know, you could start that way and work your way down to the toes. Or you could start with like breathing and like you said, the important stuff, breathing and blood and shock, and, you know, go from priority, I guess, out. You could go from, you know, most common injuries, you know, which is going to be like a lot of stomach aches and heart shit and stuff. Like when you're actually talking, a lot of reasons people aren't paramedics. The reason I'm not a paramedic is because none of this stuff that we talk about, we're all talking about the flashy, cool stuff. Like, oh, I got a cool broken arm, or like, oh man, I got a gunshot wound, or like I got stabbed or something, you know, in a cool way though. And, you know, like in a wholesome, good way, you got stabbed and now you're fixing that. But in reality, paramedics are like all old people and people that got in fights and drunk people and a lot, I can't even imagine how many people with fentanyl and, you know, methamphetamine and stuff. Like it's social work for sure. Like it's the work of saints. Like it's not, I'm going to go out there and be like a SWAT cop or whatever. Like maybe there's a few paramedics that do that. Most of them are somewhere between social workers and emergency room doctors. And I mean, I can't even imagine the strain that goes on to their, anyway.
Psyche? That creates a dark humor that you know about. Yeah, that dark, black dark humor. My first experience was in high school at a car accident when my mom was taking me to school. And this is back, in the 80s, mid 80s. So there was no cell phone and there was nobody close. So my mom dropped me off and then she took off down the road to go back to our house, which was a couple miles down the road, to use the phone to get emergency personnel to the accident. So I stayed with the victim who had a severe gash across the top of her head from hitting the tree in her vehicle, and it had split her skull. But she wasn't bleeding, and it was cut down to the white meat. I mean, I didn't know there was that much, you know what I mean, skin, and I mean, excuse me, that much fat between underneath your skin and your forehead. So that was the first one. And I looked at her and I talked to her. And since she wasn't like bleeding, it was just a gash. I would have thought it would be bleeding a lot, and it wasn't. So I just kept her talking. I sat her down and just had conversation with her, and we just spoke. And she stayed calm. She didn't freak the frig out, and that was great. But that was my first time having to deal with someone that was actually having an emergency in front of me that gave me time to think. I mean, my very first time, I think I was 10 when someone almost drowned in a pool, and I pulled a little girl off the bottom of the swimming pool. But this was, that was instinct. This was actually, I have to sit with this person and talk to this person so she doesn't freak out. And that was my first time. The next time was a drug thing at Woodstock that the girl was going into. She was hyperventilating and freaking the frig out because she thought she was having a bad trip and she psyched herself into it. So, I've had stuff like that. And then we had an accident.
And how do you train for something like that? Like somebody who's having a mental / physiological reaction to their mental. Yeah. And you're like, here's how you pack a wound. Like, good luck trying to apply that. Like, here's how you, if you got to.
So my thing was treated like anybody mine was treated like anybody hyperventilated and tell her what to do and why she's doing it. And that it'll work. Because again, she's tripping in her own head. So now I just gave you a solution and you'll be fine. Hey, lay her down, let's cover her up with a blanket. Here, put this on and breathe. Okay, all these things are things people have heard of. You know what I'm saying? Because it was really working with her head, not working with what she was actually having going on.
Lay down, put the blanket over you, put your feet up. Don't think about the giant robots coming from space.
And there you go. And breathe in this bag. That's right. Yeah. That'll calm you down.
The robots aren't going to be here for hours. Don't worry about it.
And this was at the Woodstock medical thing, right? And the two ladies there weren't medically trained at all because their real EMPs were out on the field and they were dispatching them and using their walkie-talkies. And they were like, how did you know to do that? I'm like, truthfully, she's just hyperventilating. I mean, that's all she's doing, but the rest of it was in her head. And they were like, wow, thank you. So I got a actual staff Woodstock shirt from 95? Yeah. Cool. 94. Yep.
I thought
I got a t-shirt from
there, but I wasn't financially able to drive all the way across the country because it was in New York still, right? It was like in the real New York, in the real Woodstock.
Yeah, I was voluntold. My brother was 16 and he wanted to go. And my stepmom was like, only way you going is if Tony goes with you. Yeah, I guess I'm going to Woodstock. Yay.
Aldo saying
it was a great experience, so glad I went.
Definitely. I remember I was reading, we were talking about working in the gas station. I was sitting there in my gas station, sitting there because I would read a lot because I was bored, right? I didn't have anything to do, so I'd sit there. Anyway, I would read, I was reading, I think, a camping magazine or like an outdoors type of magazine, but it had an article about first aid. And somewhere in there it said something like, if you can't remember the name of your last first aid instructor, then it's time to refresh. So I was like, oh, that's good. Instead of saying it's 5 years or 3 years, everybody has their own, ability to retain knowledge or whatever. Whether or not you're applying the knowledge is probably a big piece of that, right? So I think that's an interesting way to gauge it. If you can remember the name of the instructor, then you can probably, remember the stuff. But if you can't remember the name of the instructor anymore, who knows how much of the stuff you forgot as well. So it's time to take another class. I don't know what else that applies to. I hope it doesn't apply to driving because I don't even remember last time. I don't know if I've ever even taken a driving class. I think I only had to ever take a test. Or I mean in school, like whenever you're 16 or something, but I don't think I've ever had to take a test since I was 16.
Yeah, that's all I did was take the driving test in school.
But I think that's one of those things where nobody even flinches. People in cities might flinch because that sounds on theoretically like a dangerous thing. I'm 50 something years old and I've only ever been tested with an actual instructor behind the wheel once when I was 16, or probably whenever age you are before you're 16, right? 15 or something. So when I was a little kid, I had to sit in a class in a car with 3 other kids and the instructor or whatever it was, and park and whatever I had to do. I think we just passed the class and then you could go out to the place and get your driver's license, right? I don't think we had to do anything extra back then. But then ever since then,
Nope.
all they do is go, "Oh, you already have a driver's license? Here you go, here you go, here you go." And now my one is good till like another 50 years or something. It'll be till I'm super old. So nobody even flinches with that. Like, oh, you're driving around whatever. I can go rent whatever I want and drive it around, right? Like even if I rented a big old truck, I don't think anybody cared, unless they made you prove that you had a commercial driver's license or something. But you know what I mean? I can rent a pretty big truck, drive it all around, smash bridges accidentally, or do whatever stupid shit I'm going to do.
Yep.
Or bad shit. Fill it up with whatever. I could fill it up with 9mm. Think of how horrible that would be. And then, but you know what I mean? Like nobody gives a shit about that. But with the gun stuff, somehow permit, class, all this shit makes us better. Like, come on, we're pretty competent.
Renew it. Got to
We're
renew it every 2 years. Get out of here.
Anyway, we're going off on. I would go off on a lot of tangents. We've
let's
had
go ahead and get out of here.
Yeah, but let's wrap it up because mainly because we usually run it to like 4 hours, and Tony's not getting paid for this. I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not really looking for a paycheck. However, Tony is looking for people to hang out at the shoots that he does periodically. You want to wrap it up? Tell us about the next one.
So our next diversity shoot is Thursday. We've been sold out for 3 weeks now. We sold out a week before the last event. So we're going to have the HK SP5 there and some other guns. I'm actually going to be recording some content before at We Shoot in Lakewood, New Jersey. I'm going to be actually talking about lever actions, shotguns, and revolvers in modern day self-defense. So I'll be posting those videos. Will be posting as soon as they're done, edit them and everything. That's what I'm doing Thursday. If you want to join us, or if you want to help us fund these events, even if you own a business and you want to get some, want to send us some gift certificates or something that we can use as raffle items, that'll be great. But you can donate to Diversity Shoot. Go to diversityshoot.com. You can use our PayPal link. I have a Cash App. I have a Venmo account. So if you want to help us and donate, please do. Really appreciate it. Hold on. Choking. Throat's dry. Don't know why.
Hey, look on the screen. Did you see this question?
Oh, dude. Maybe. I got to jump the car to get it up there. Remember, I got a new car with a battery issue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd like to though. What else? So, if you want to donate, great. Really appreciate it. We have a lot of fun at these events, and we introduce people to firearms that no longer would, or we bring people in and introduce them to Second Amendment organizations and get them in the fight early, because it's about winning hearts and minds and doing this. And we do it as people, talking to people individually, and not some bullcrap. Not some meme or conversation that's going to happen online while we're arguing. This face-to-face, person-to-person thing will make the community grow, and we can all do what I'm doing. You don't have to host an event, but you can be a decent human being and talk to somebody that doesn't come from the same background as you, and you can find a commonality. And that's what I'm preaching, because the divisiveness that's being pushed freaking hard right now. They're trying to make you believe everybody hates you, and it's not true. Stop buying into it. Do not let them trick you out of your freedom, because that's what they're using right now. They're using these latest incidences to do things to stop hate speech. Nothing's more un-American than that. We already have crimes against terroristic threats. Enforce them if this person's a viable threat. Enforce them, lock them up, do whatever the heck you need to do, but to allow even the term hate speech to be used without everyone in the room on both sides of the aisle, not only booing them, but throwing rotten eggs at them, that's what we have to do. Cannot allow that. That's the divisiveness they're pushing. The Second Amendment is for everyone. The work we do, these freedoms are for all of us. And the second is there to protect the first. Understand that. If you want to fund what we do, please help us out. We need it. Really appreciate it. Obviously, right now, my 501c3 stuff is being put on the back burner. Uh, rest in peace to Jack. And we're going to miss you, dude, in the Second Amendment advocacy realm, especially in New Jersey, because you were one of the pillars. He was one of the founding members of the Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners. He was also the dude that was behind, the finance and how everything worked, because he was an accountant in real life, and he handled a lot of that stuff for us. So thank you for all the work you've done, dude. Your work will be continued. And I'm also naming a part of my event after Jack Pyle. We just got to come up with a really cool name, but he's going to be at every one of our events in some manner. And we're going to make sure of it because of the work he's done with us and for the Second Amendment community in New Jersey. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening to me ramble on and on. Simon Says Train on Instagram is my name. Yes, I know I got to change it to 2A4E in some manner. The second is for everyone on X, and the second is for everyone on Facebook, and also Tony Simon on Facebook is how you can reach me. And one of the podcasts I do is, Cocked, Locked, and Unfiltered? And we record that every 2 weeks. That's out there. And also I'm on Firearms Radio Network on the Gun and Gear Review podcast.
Instead of just leaving it hang right there, I just was thinking about something as you were talking about the shoots. There's a lot of, I think, in contrast with a lot of not a lot, but some of the folks that exist in the community, whatever the culture of us. Tony's doing this thing every couple of weeks. You're always talking about it. And I'm thinking some people are going, oh man, he's talking about this thing again. But that's in contrast to the people that show up when it's profitable, essentially. Like they show up, after an event, at a time of elections, when there's maybe an anniversary of something, or maybe just for whatever reason the community's doing well. Like there's fly-by nights, I guess is the way to say it, who'll come up and, same thing, like, oh, whatever, we're doing all this work and stuff. But I think that's I don't know, like I say, a thing to just see contrast there is that you guys are doing it basically, I would say weekly, because it's not like, even though the events are every other week, obviously you're planning it, you're getting things set up, you're making your own plans, adjustments for it. So, it's something that's on your minds essentially constantly. And I'm just kind of giving you a pat on the back, commend you that, and kind of highlight that. And then
Yeah. Real quick. Yeah, if you can donate and help us get to SHOT Show, because my guy's already booking flights for that. So I'm bringing one of my guys has already been paid for by somebody else. I want to see if I can help another one get there, or at least we can get together and pay for some stuff. Because we are going to be there talking to organizations and trying to get funding. And hopefully we can get somebody kicked off. We can get something kicked off with finding someone else to help us set up 2A4E as a charitable organization. But right now, they're going to be going through his paperwork and stuff over the weekend. And when they get to it, they get to it. I'm not rushing that because truthfully.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the time.
Yeah. Not
and
at all.
Without getting into it, I'm sure you had people with, urgency or whatever. But although it said, has anybody ever shot this Israeli version of the AR-7? Is the last question. And since it's a gun question, we can wrap it up with that real quick. I've seen this at the Wanamaker gun show before. That's where I learned about it. I think one of these might be one of my videos about it from back in the day when I learned about it. But have you seen these before? The AR-7, I guess, or the Israeli
I've seen
version?
the AR-7, but not the Israeli version.
It's
I've
I
seen
don't
the
know
Air
which
Force
came
version.
first, either the Israeli version or the Air Force version, but they're the same thing, I think. And it's basically a AR-7 just stripped down, skeletonized, I guess you could say, or basically just stripped down to be as lightweight as possible. And I don't know, I think they're neat, but I had an AR-7. I can't remember if I still own it or not. If you've never shot one, then they look really interesting on paper or on the internet and pictures and stuff. But in reality, that's cast aluminum. The receiver is cast aluminum, and or is it not the receiver? The barrel thing is cast aluminum. So it's a really thin barrel inside of an aluminum, I guess, shroud you'd call it, so that it can have substance without a lot of weight, right? So in other words, it's not just a piece of barrel hanging out the front, but it's also not a handguard. It's just this like thick piece of aluminum, and it's just not a great design, I guess, without getting all into it. So as neat as it looks, it has no appeal to me, and I wouldn't imagine too many people are going to let you shoot it, because as soon as you shoot it incorrectly, you're kind of hurting it. It does hurt the gun if you shoot it bad, or if you like let it close incorrectly on an empty case. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's a tedious gun to work. There's a reason it never went further than a couple of companies bouncing it around. So I don't want to crap on it, but it's one of those dead ends of the trees of the gun design, for lots of reasons, and it's an interesting one though, and it does come from Armalite.
Yep.
But I don't think you're going to find too many people that are going to let you shoot it, because it's, like I say, kind of a tedious gun, and it hurts itself when you. It's kind of like a gun that has that it would hurt itself if it fired on an empty chamber. You're not going to just hand that to somebody who doesn't know it's up and just let them potentially fire 6 times. You know what I mean? Like on an empty chamber, you would.
The Henry version is fun. The Henry version of it is fun.
Of the AR-7?
Yeah, the Henry version of it is I think, better made.
Well, it's certainly going to be stronger or whatever, but basically, if you've ever had like an empty, a case not eject, so it goes forward again, but then it also tries to scoop one up, so it just becomes a mess going forward. That empty case will jam into the lining of the barrel in a way that it starts to make bites. It like starts to nibble. So it can pretty quickly, if you're not paying attention, like really gnarl it up, and you can, I don't know if it'll make it inoperable, but it gets pretty bad. So I have no idea if the Henry has done something. Maybe they put metal there instead of aluminum, but I don't remember which versions I thought that were doing that, but the original versions did that. And
the original version was, of course,
it would have to, yeah.
It was a survival rifle, and it wasn't a lot of practice being done with it. It's not designed for high round count use. It is not your plinker gun, the original. This Henry thing, I think you can shoot it a lot more. You know, the way they put it out, maybe just marketing using that old school stuff. I mean, really, at this point, they can leave it alone. Most people don't even remember it was something before that. It's just a Henry survival rifle now.
And nowadays there's folding 1022s, so I think the 1022 probably took this role and continues to take this role in the weight stuff. Yeah. All right. Well, we just hit the 304. If we were cool, we would go till 308, but then we have to sit here for 4 more minutes, so it's not. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. And we did probably miss a couple of comments, and we definitely didn't go to the spreadsheet like we were, like the database or whatever of questions like we said we were gonna, but it's our prerogative. We do that once in a while. And we were gonna try to have Pro SA, I forget his name, so that's the problem. I can't remember his name. I probably If I would have thought about it earlier, I probably could have done more research. I was hoping he would show up today and we could invite him back next week. So if he's interested in joining, he has a case in California right now where he's challenging their constitutional carry ban, correct? I think it's that one. So
Yep.
we were going to have him on, but maybe we'll have him on next week or a separate show. We'll see what's up, what's good for his schedule. Anyway, thanks again, Tony, for taking the time to join us. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.